Here we go. Here we go from my neighborhood roundabout, and got that backpack, although I got that cover for it because it's maybe gonna rain, maybe not, but I decided to start filming. As you know, it is Monday, June 9th, and gotta express my gratitude, grateful, thankful. My rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. Well, coffee I don't have that much. I actually have more decaf, and I'm gonna mix a little bit of that decaf with the regular espresso, so I'm gonna have to purchase this week, you know. I was a bit moody, M-O-O-D-Y, but now that I'm out roundabout, I'm a bit feeling better, you know. Auctioning everything that I'm wearing, $1 million each, the pants, the underwear, the shirt. Yours truly bought it secondhand. Thank you to my anonymous friend who wasn't my friend because of the money, because I never had any rock and roll 24/7 for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food. Now those flipping some burgers in a fast food, grocery store clerks, warehouse workers, docks, those on the docks, you know, dock workers, electricians, the plumbers, those picking up the, gonna pick out, they already picked up the recycling in my neighborhood, Montreal, Hawkeye and N.A.C.W.P Montreal. Well, this has to be cleared because there's children and there's dogs there, and that is really dangerous for dogs if they're not with the leash, you know, and children also. So that is a concern, you know. You have that there, whatever the case may be, and that's what it is with that. So that's why we gotta get rock and roll with that, and that's why we're gonna get drilling on that. And so we gotta get for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, and grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food. I gotta give them some salutations, you know. I was moody, but I did my laundry, so I'm grateful, thankful I got a laundry machine, because before I used to go to that laundromat and spend some money. So yeah, I did one today, gonna do one tomorrow because I switched with my anonymous friends. So that's all we're gonna get drilling, and you know, got a lot of things to be grateful for. Survived COVID 5 years ago. COVID, it was hardcore. I thought that was my last chapter, and survived being attacked by surprise, and survived, you know. I live with this neurological mental condition called Asperger's, and that's in my community is a higher than average, way higher, by 9 times higher, the depression and the suicidal tendencies, suicidal rates in people with Asperger's, which being an ASPE, I'm part of this tiny small community fraction of the population, which is less than 1 percentile, less than half of a percent. It's 0.44%, and our brains have these mutations, you know, which occur partly. The actual cause of Asperger's, which is not a mental illness, it's not, NOT is not a mental illness, it is a neurological mental divergent condition, and makes us predisposed, you know, to these special interests, which of course make us a bit awkward and weird in the social sphere, and the socially how we communicate certain things. And you know, we certainly have our obstacles. Myself, it's been years and years and years, because I've didn't accept it for many years, and still waiting for a bit of sunshine today on this great day, Monday, June 9th. But you know, for many years, by several people I've been diagnosed throughout the past more than 7 years, and only about 3.5 years ago during COVID I said I do have Asperger's 100%, like 93% of the characteristics, and I'm an ASPE, so I'm looking for some support. And friends will benefits only, pledge your legions. I have my strengths, you know, when it comes to geopolitics, because we Aspies have our special interests, and our special interests are those super focused, super intense, super concentrated interests, where we got it on the go there for the youth. We gotta celebrate them on the love, and that's how we gotta get it for them, the youth, you know. It's for them, and that's how we gotta get for them to be loved, and you know, to be safe and secure on the streets. And that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get on the love, you know, for those youth right here, which are going to have a good time now. The summer started, so who's graduating, who's not, you know, that's how we gotta get it on the go, and that's how we gotta get doing for them there, and that's how we gotta get loving, you know. It's there for the future of the kingdom, the empire, you know. Pledge your allegiance, support the dream. The dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership across the North American Collectif. And I think now they're open these, so I'm gonna make a short, brief pit stop. Let's see which one's open. It's not open, not open. Well, they closed it now, so I'm gonna have to go with the other one. It was open the other day. I guess I'm gonna still have to go with the other one before I go on the long march. And I don't really have to, but I kind of feel I should maybe, you know, for the long marches, because it's gonna be like more than 5 hours, 6 this June 9th, you know. I started, I think it was 3:06 p.m., but I left early, like 2:44 p.m. I was supposed to leave at 1, but I couldn't help myself. I was supposed to leave way earlier, but due to the geopolitical events, especially the current ongoing crisis in Los Angeles, you know, kind of being on something which we gotta solve, you know, we gotta solve the, I think my way best to solve the North American collective situations which we have in economically, financially, social, culturally, by creating a new, getting rid of the border, creating a common currency, a common passport, and of course making a great census, making a great census of the population, and that's what it is with that, and that's what it is with the goal, you know. So making a great census of the population, you know, and that's what we gotta get doing for the youth here, you know, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food. And that's what we gotta get doing with that, and we gotta get doing on that rock and roll, you know. So something which I gotta be grateful for today, you know, as I carpe diem it every day since I died of COVID in February 2020. Between February 2020 and March. Watch it when you cross the street there. You gotta watch it when you cross the street, you know. Just cross the street prudently, be double cautious, and I gotta have my eyes on the youth like a hawk, you know, like an N.A.C.W.P. You cross the streets, make sure you cross on that safe, prudent side, you know. Don't get a double trouble. And here we are, past my old neighborhood. Well, this is my neighborhood, part of it still. I used to do laundry right there, and I'm just gonna take a U-turn. Gonna go to the washroom before, you know. Actually, yeah, I should go, maybe. I should go to the washroom. Across the street here brutally. We're gonna go get it on that. Gonna get on the left side of things. We're gonna get on the left side of things, you know. So that's why we're gonna drill it, man, you know. Here we go. See, for these who build houses here, all these houses, we're gonna need to build more social housing, and I believe my DRT theory best. And I always admire, of course, people who build, the builders, construction workers, now Hydro-Quebec now, of course, on the road, and all those hugging, kissing for the lovers as well. Gotta sing some of that good rock and roll for the lovers as well, you know. It's not all about Wall Street, and this is my neighborhood where I used to do laundry right there at the corner. So I gotta be grateful, thankful that I got a laundromat and a washer and a dryer. So I got that at home, so I save a little bit of that money, you know. Money is to buy, sell, and that's what it is with that. And gotta get on that joy for the youth, and that's what we gotta get doing on the go, you know. For the lovers, for the butchers, for the bakers, for the nurses, for the doctors, for the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food. And that's what we gotta get doing like that, you know. That's why we gotta get on that appellation, you know. We gotta salute the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, and those plumbers. Gotta salute those ambulance drivers, you know, and gotta check a little bit of the carpet, the rabo till the end, you know. Bury me with Papa Crowley, or turn me up in New Jersey, turn me up in Montreal, on the top of the Mount Royal there, my second home, the Belvedere, and the third of me at the city of the pyramids. So split me in three, you know. A third part over there, Mount Royal, the third part of the city of the pyramids, and the third part in New Jersey. I gotta salute the train conductors, and you know, all the civilization is a privilege. Imagine all having how it was built over the decades. So we gotta get that 63 for the North American collective, you know. That's how we gotta get drilling, man. And you know, oh yeah, I'm glad I got a little bit. I gotta flush it. Gotta flush it. And wash your hands, please. Wash your hands after. And gonna see you later. Oh, that's not bad. I don't encourage, but we should support public-private partnership, not on places like this, but even this. If there's an artist who, of course, wills to embellish public washrooms, because this has some talent, but of course, I don't encourage without notification and without approval, you know, So we got to get all the cities of the 63, 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories. That's a little bit of artistic, you know, but the concern is a little bit of a nudity, slightly nude, you know, and whatever the case may be, but I can't draw like this, and But if you can do good art, yeah, why not? Oh yeah, ready to rock and roll. Continue. Wash my hands already, so I'm gonna open now with this, not to touch too much the handle because of microbes, bacteria, germs. So here we go. We're gonna rock and roll. Gonna go hydrate a little bit and gonna go down by the side. And here I just wish I could put some paint, you know, just paint all this blue, purple, orange, you know. I don't know. Every time I pass here is like so gray. I wish I could paint it all, you know, just some blue, some purple, some red. Just bring me the tools, the volunteer. I'll volunteer to paint all these walls. It's just so gray, so like, and there's a lot of people I pass here often, and I don't know, I would rather see them blue, orange, yellow, some colors. If you bring me the paint, the tools, and the permission, I'll volunteer to paint all those walls and the stairs even, I guess. Well, the walls mostly, the stairs, I guess, it's not that important. Anyways, gonna go hydrate and gonna go drilling on the hydration side of things, and so we're gonna go drilling, man. Gonna need to get a little bit of hydration. Sorry, I need to drink some water. Hydration. Best if you wait about 10 seconds, you know, for the pipes to clear. Oh yeah. Now we're ready to for a few hours. So just paint these walls, you know. I would love to paint them some blue, some purple. It's so like, every time I pass here, it's like so, just so gray, you know. I don't know. Give them some paint, you know. So like, just too gray. They need some color, man. These walls, some rainbow, some color, you know. Paint them some rainbow colors, man. Just paint them all up. Too gray for my taste. Put some hearts. Something like that, man. Bring me the tools, I'll do it for free. I'll volunteer, you know. To do it myself there, and there can hug, people can hug freely there, and there's a hugging tunnel. With consent, obviously. And that gives me joy, you know, to see the youth happy there. And we're kind of kissing a bit, but, you know, so kind of a little kiss, a little hug, you know. So I guess they're getting ready for that summer love, teenage love. That's why I rock and roll, man. So I gotta include this march for the youth, you know. So otherwise, what are we fighting to say for, man? Somebody not kissing, not hugging today. What are we fighting to save the free world for, man? That's the question, you know. You gotta get it on the go with that, and gotta get it on the love. And now we're gonna go by the side. We're gonna go by, usually we go the other way, but now we're just gonna go another route. Sometimes it's good to like flex it up a little bit, change it up a little bit, you know. So, although my routines are pretty routine, but mostly I go to the mountain, but today I changed the direction, trajectory. I said I was gonna go to the mountain, but then I said I'm gonna go by the water Monday, and last Monday I was at the mountain, and tomorrow we're gonna go hit that mountain. My second home, Mount Royal. So hey, got beautiful flowers there. Welcome to Montreal, Hawk Island, and you know, this is a long marching workout training program. We're gonna sing some of those cadence, and we're freestyling, you know, editing it and just singing a little bit of that rock and roll, discussing geopolitics. I have Asperger's, so I have special interests, and those special interests are also known as obsessive interests. But of course, different Aspies have different special interests, but it's good. And Asperger's is not a mental illness; it is a neurological divergent mental condition. And my special interests are geopolitics, sports, fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, and of course, rock and roll. So that's my holy trinity. Hey, beautiful flowers, all over the place. Kind of like these combination too there, how they're stacked in with the deep violet, like purple almost, and red. So, and those there. So the yellow flowers are my favorite. So yeah, Aspies, we have special interest, also known as obsessive interest. So when it comes to these special interests, we are super intense, super dedicated, super concentrated. So I can spend hours and hours a day. Just today, I spend a few hours, about 5 hours, 5 hours. 5 hours, 5 hours, about maybe 4 hours just to do geopolitics. And that's what I do on a basis, and I take great pride in my geopolitical work, because when it comes to geopolitics, that is my special interest. That is my special interest. And I excel in it to the point that I take great pride in my independent geopolitical theoretical analysis. And I am an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. And I gotta say again, as I repeat, that I predicted what's happening now back in 2019 in October. So I predicted an international conflagration back in October 2019. November 2019, I predicted an international conflagration based on several levels of deep analysis, somewhat intellectual, academic. But if I can make a summary, I concluded that due to the fact that many unresolved conflicts and tensions from the 20th century are still ongoing, that is, of course, those conflicts from the 20th century are going to restart and recommence. And for the most part, what we see in the world are those 20th century conflicts, which date mostly from the Cold War period of 1947, or between 1947 and 1991, February 1947 and 1991. So predominantly, those conflicts are unresolved conflicts. Those conflicts are unresolved conflicts. I always got to admire some machines and tools of building, because whenever I see construction workers, it reminds me that I will to build with the construction workers' help. The 4. This starts today with me, June 9th, on this march. And my will to build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum on the Canadian-US border, where me and Donald Trump are going to fight it out in a boxing match, because I've been challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match ever since Donald Trump imposed tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel for the first time back in, of course, 2018. Gotta be careful with the cars there, So when, of course, Donald Trump imposed tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel back in 2018. So since then, I've been challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border since 2018. Of course, 2018, that was the time when I started challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border. And that is, of course, the first time when Donald Trump imposed tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel. And now we have these new tariffs. And of course, before I proceed, I gotta make a statement, a geopolitical statement, which was, of course, unchangeable. This doesn't change. So this is a constant, just like the pi symbol. Just like the pi symbol, this statement doesn't change what I'm going to say now. A geopolitical statement, you know, the pi symbol is of course 3.1416, so it's always a constant. It does never changes. It's related to the circle and to the ratio and the diameter, and actually the diameter and the circumference of the circle, right? The pi symbol is a symbol and it represents a mathematical number which is always the same, 3.1416. 3.1416 ad infinitum. So it continues on and on and on. So that number, of course, it's related to what I'm gonna say. I don't know why the number 44 there makes me think of the tunnels, and that's 45. See, that's an N.A.C.W.P thing. I saw the number on the car. Actually, this is, you know, where to just, if there's an accidents, watch it on the streets, be prudent. If there's an accident on the streets, then of course that car goes and takes, or if the car breaks down, if there's an accident, you know, that's what it is with that, and that's how we get to going, you know. So we need to get drilling on that. So of course there was a number 44, and when I saw number 44, I equivalent with my call for also building the 44 tunnels across the North American Collective. Let's sign an executive order, me and you, Donald Trump, to build and give some amnesty to certain migrants, undocumented workers, you know, in order to build those 44 tunnels. And speaking of 44 again, and there's an 11 there, see? We tend to focus on special numbers, and I wonder what this represents. MTO, Montreal. Is that's a no, because that's 0, see, it's different. So they're not really the same, but there's a 44. So I wonder what that represents. See, we got double trouble, a good omen there. But of course, this is an N.A.C.W.P thing. We focus on certain details when other citizens might say, what the fuck, WTF? WTF is that about? But there has a meaning, because the classification having a number on that car, maybe it's part of a fleet. As I became Dragon 0, who's Dragon 1 across the 63, let's get those millions and create the Dragon Army for total security, total service, total defense, integrated with all police, security forces, and military forces, as have been, of course, calling since 2020, you know. So that is something which we gotta do. We gotta create it. Integrate with all the National Guards, as we're gonna fuse the North through North Strong and Free in the South, and we got to get for total SSD, and we got to build those 44 tunnels, you know. We got to build those 44 tunnels, you know. Super important for us to start building, constructing those 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war. And here I got to turn my head left and right, because you never know. Sometimes they come fast by that side, and they can come by this side, and the brake malfunction, and you get a little split in, you know. That's what's happening. And that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and that's how we're gonna get that rock and roll, you know. So we get drilling, and we're gonna get that drill, and we're gonna get that hot tackled. That's how we're gonna get doing with that, and that's how we're gonna get on the go, man. You know, that's how we gotta get doing with that, you know. So so we're gonna get drilling. So here we are. And of course, being an N.A.C.W.P, see, I focus on certain things which of course are of a different dimension, and they're weird things, you know, these weird, eccentric, awkward, abnormal things, like focusing on certain details of the numbers. For example, here, you know, I might look at this and inspect and see those numbers and those letters, although it's a 325 there, and there's an F, there's a C, and I may focus and of course wonder what's that about. So this is just Asperger's for you. It's not a mental illness, it is a neurological mental divergent condition. And I gotta give some creditations and salutations to a fellow N.A.C.W.P. So a few months ago, donated $25.44. I put it to good use. I got some bacon, I got some wine, and I got some bread. So basically food for the weekend Sabbath, and that's basically what I used that money for, the donation. Thank you, fellow N.A.C.W.P. As I go now towards the river. Financially stressed. I'm less moody. I was a bit moody. Maybe the weather. Maybe I had some flashbacks, you know, because I survived trauma. I was attacked by surprise a few years ago. Hit my head in the Montreal metro. Had a dislocated right arm. and was bloodied up. Went to the hospital, the Jewish general, and I was put on some meds. I was like in a coma for a few days, and I just don't remember much of my life prior to that. I used to live in a kind of like it was a small prison type of cell with lots of mold, and I survived there. I moved from there, I think, in July 1st, so in a few weeks it's gonna be either 9 years or 10 years since I moved from that place. Either 9 or 10. So I'm not sure if it's 10 or 9. So that remains a question. I gotta double check. I'm sure it's 9 for sure. 2016, but it could be even 2015, which means that it will be 10 years, not 9 years, since I moved where I live now. Much better, and I was depressed, I was suicidal, and I have trouble accessing my memory of my life prior to that. I have what I've written on journals and all that, but what's most important is my work, especially when I classify my work as rebirths and deaths and rebirth, if you will. 2017. Before that, I was also depressed, suicidal, and then I crossed Canada coast to coast, coast to coast. So crossing Canada coast to coast made me realize, I came to a realization, I said so many things to see. So many things to see, to do in Montreal and Canada and Quebec, and crossing Canada in summer 2017, 1st July, went to Vancouver, BC, and then of course in September went to Halifax, and crossing Canada coast to coast, ocean to ocean. That made me come out of being depressed, being suicidal. Before that I was depressed, I was suicidal, and that changed my whole life. See, there's the 44 again on the bus. There's the 44 again. 3 times 44, but that one has a 0, 0, and 5, and whatever the case may be on that bus, and how we quantify it to do it, and how we visualize it, that's, I guess, another story. But yeah, I'm gonna take some turns and do a little split, check a little bit of these flowers there, and see how that goes. And yeah, I was depressed, I was suicidal. Cross Canada coast to coast, 2017 July, went in BC, British Columbia, BC, Vancouver, British Columbia, that is, one of the 63. And of course here you got some of these beautiful flowers, which maybe you can see a little bit on that go. See, quite beautiful, aren't they? Just gorgeous. I love them anyways. And just a little bit of cutie blues. So yeah, crossing Canada coast to coast, that changed my whole life. Before that I was depressed, I was suicidal, and then from Vancouver, British Columbia, went to Halifax in September. So August 2017, I went in Vancouver, British Columbia. Spent a few days, then of course came, and I gotta say that we left by bus, 3.5 day bus ride. Imagine 3.5 days of a bus ride. That was an experience just to go. So 7 days total. A going trip from Montreal to Vancouver, changing bus routes or buses a few times. It took 3.5 days to come back also. So 7 days total on bus crossing Canada, giving a salutation to the wildfire fighters and those who are fighting the wildfires, thinking about them and rooting for them. Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, from what I know, there's now in Ontario as well some spillovers in Ontario, so gotta give some loving to the firefighters there. Somebody make them some good food and give them some good massages. Millionaires, billionaires, finance them some good massages. They're gonna need it, and that's why they're gonna need to get drilling with that, and that's what we're gonna get doing now here, So basically crossing Canada made me come out of being depressed and being suicidal. And before that time, I got out of being depressed and being suicidal, crossing Canada coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and was suicidal. And my brother there, his cousin, sister, just saluted me, and I gotta pull a little bit of that garbage here, and gotta get some of that drinking a little bit. I guess they're free to drink a little bit, but You know, I don't like violence, and I don't like violence. I do not like violence. Sometimes I get like flashes, you know, being attacked by surprise, and I created my own workout training program system. That's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on that goal, you know. So it's something which we gotta get doing on the left side of things, and we gotta get doing on that, you know, for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food, you know. That's how we gotta get doing, and we gotta get drilling on that, man. Because we got a lot of cleaning to do, you know. Here we are on the go, and that's how we gotta get drilling, you know. I wish I could give a little bit of massages and to the firefighters and finance them, you know. And we need to sign an executive order to rehabilitate the North American inner urban cities. We gotta rebuild the ghettos together. That's how Dragon Army wanted that, was to rebuild. One of the principles, one of the, you know, the projects for the Dragon Army is to rebuild the North American inner urban cities, to rebuild the ghettos. We gotta rebuild the ghettos. We gotta rebuild the ghettos, you know. Super important. They're signing executive orders, and you know, and again, going back to what I lived through and experienced, you know, being depressed and being suicidal, crossing Canada coast to coast, you know, ocean to ocean. That event really changed my life, you know. Really changed my life, and I have been and will call, because I've written much theory, propositions, protocols, initiatives, one of them being related to financing of tourism via public-private partnership, you know, called, has a fancy title somewhat like the initiative for the financing of the public-private partnership initiative, the public-private partnership initiative, public-private partnership initiative for the reinitialization of tourism for inner citizen wellness, so it's something about financing tourism and via public-private partnership. And of course, my dream is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership across the North American Collective, across North America, for the rehabilitation thereof, you know, of the North American Collective. And it's super important to finance tourism, super important to mass finance tourist activity, and via public-private partnership. I gotta salute the truckers. See now how my brain works. I see those trucks, and I know it's going east and west and north and south, and I always do a meditation of what's having in them, and of course, whatever the case may be that they're carrying there. See, this is what we need to be building, a lot of these new things. We gotta reinvest massively, also not just in tourism but in infrastructure, because if you take a look of our infrastructure, you see of course that much of it has to be rebuilt and redone, you know, something which we got to be rebuilding as soon as possible, and it's going to take a lot of work together, a lot of public-private partnership, but that's how we're going to get doing with that, and that's how we're going to get on that hydration. See, all the truckers going east, west, north, south across the 63, I got to salute. I wonder what they're carrying in. See how my brain now functions and works, because of course I have Asperger's and my special interest is geopolitics. I concord now this moment here, of course June 9th, 2025, knowing that nuclear war can start any second, any minute, any day. World War III perhaps have started, some say, I guess Puerto Rico with that. But you see how much work we have and how much work was done also to have all this. We take it for granted, you know, and we have been taking it, but decades and decades and decades of work has been done to do all this. All this civilization is a privilege, you know. Civilization is a privilege. So we got to get the 63. We got to get together, Canada, United States. We got to fuse. My way of fusing best and creating the two complementary covenant and cooperative institution best, be the Dragon Army, aka the North American Integrated Security Service and Defense Legion, and the Dragon Army parallel to the Dancing Goddess Army. We're gonna of course do it with that, and that's how we're gonna get doing. See, you see how much work needs to be done here. I don't know exactly all the work which was done because I'm not an expert in, of course, engineering, but the engineers of Quebec, Canada, United States. See these trucks, what are they carrying inside? Are they carrying bread, bacon, cheese? How many are carrying bread? How many are carrying cheese? With the chocolate prices going up, you know, we got those speculators there. Buy, sell, trade, future options, puts, buy, sell, trade, future options, puts, buy, trade, sell, futures, options, puts, you know. We got to give some chatty Wall Street, and we got to implement my DRT, the debt refusion to be best, and we got to massively finance a public-private partnership in order to rebuild the North American infrastructure, which is of course extensive, which has taken of course 7 decades and decades and decades to build, you know. But you can see how it is there with that, and that's what we got to get doing, you know. We got to get to work. Unfortunately, in my community, Aspies, there's a super way too high unemployment rate. Parallel with both depression and suicidal tendencies, and ideation and depression is super high. 9 times amongst people like me who are Asperger's, Aspies, which we're not a lot. I'm a part of a tiny small community, you know, a tiny small fraction of a community, you know, tiny small fraction of a community. There's not a lot of Aspies in the world, you know, not a lot of Aspies in the world. But of course, my community is of course part of these special, where we have our special interests, you know. And in my community, which is less than 1 percentile, less than 0.5%, less than 0.44%. So we're a tiny community, you know. We're a tiny small community. So that tiny small community makes us that we're predisposed to special interest. And see, I gotta know why that 13.3 there, 13.3 on the police, 13.3, and somebody got to rock and roll for the police. Somebody got to rock and roll for the police, you know. For the police. Ain't nobody perfect. They're not perfect. Their individuals are not perfect. And of course, we're not perfect, you know. Got to get it for the farmers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and they're individuals also, you know. Individuals. That's why we need to transform via my new 911 protocols. The Dragon Army protocols. 911 protocols. The 911 protocols. For total security, total service, total defense. For total security, total service, total defense. For total security, total service, total defense, you know. That's all we gotta get doing, you know, for total security, total service, and total defense. That's what we gotta get doing, that Dragon Army, you know, to get that for the rehabilitation of the North American Collective. And see, that's what I love to see. People jogging, people exercising, people jogging. Watch it, gotta watch for them in the car. They're safe to go. I got my eyes on you like a hawk, you know. Wanna get on that. Nobody's getting hit by a car under my watch, you know. Like a hawk, you know. That's what it is. I'm gonna move out of there. Ça fait plaisir. Personne se fait frapper par un char quand je suis sur la route, moi. That's what it is. I said in French, nobody gets hit by a car when I'm under my watch. You know, we gotta get safely and prudence, and we gotta get a little bit of that rock and roll, you know. Here we are, and that's all we're gonna get doing on the go, and that's all we gotta get a little bit of those mushrooms here, you know. Oh, I gotta, because I know that corner is dangerous, because I come often, as you can see my videos, eh? You see many of my videos, and I know that corner. I saw them running, and I know that they're from there. Although I saw blurred, you know, but I know the corner instinctively. Although I see blurred, I can see the cars, and there's no impediment, you know, there's no trees or anything like that that could block my vision. But that's what we gotta get doing, you know, because gotta stay prudent. But look at these. They're so big. I don't know if they're edible, but they're beautiful. I just stopped a little bit to get it on the go to see how they are. They're like so nice. Get it on the go, to get it on the love, and that's what we gotta get on that participation, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's what we gotta get drilling, you know. So the love side of things, and we gotta get that love in, and the butchers and the bakers and the nurses and the firefighters and the truckers, you know. Gotta think about the truckers, because I was moody, but then I say, hey, you got those daycares, workers changing diapers, they're doing hard labor. You got truckers on the road who've been like for 12 hours driving maybe with only 2 stops, you know. Got construction workers. Why am I moody for? Well, yeah, unfortunately my community, Aspies, in my community we're not a lot. I'm part of this tiny small fraction of the population who have Asperger's. Being an Aspie, I'm part of this tiny population who's less than 1%, less than half of a percentile, less than 0.44%, right? So there's not a lot of people who are Aspies. But the problem is that there's a lot of misunderstandings and mislabeling and miscommunication can arrive often. And a lot of people still unfortunately think or consider it an illness, which is not. Just like a few weeks ago I had a conversation and a fellow citizen said, well, wait, I know what it is, it's an illness. And I said, no, it's not an illness. It's not an illness. Yes, in certain things we are less able, less capable, mediocre, average, so-so. Then in other things, depends on what we're discussing about. Depending on consequentially our discussions as are related to certain things that we are super interested, super concentrated, super dedicated, super intense about. Me, my domain, my kingdom, my realm is geopolitics. If you want to have a geopolitical discussion, as you can see hundreds of my videos discussing geopolitics. Parallel to geopolitics, it's sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, and of course, rock and roll. As I rock and roll, create rock and roll songs, French and English, bilingual 24/7. You know, so now my brain switches to geopolitics as I see all these trucks going, of course, north-south, and the other ones going east-west. So they're going east-west, north-south across the 63. The 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, because I know that we're open for sabotage and espionage. You know, what if the unrest, and should we start categorizing them as riots, you know? And I'm a democratic Republican. I've been challenging Donald Trump since 2018, and us Quebecers, Canadians, and my brothers and sisters, North Americans, we have to say yes to this following statement, all of us. There's no no, there's no maybe. Our main interest as Canadians, Quebecers, Canadians, as my brothers and sisters in the USA, as I was born, you know, in the United States 3 times in past lives, reincarnations. Once I was born a woman, twice a man, served in the same United States Armed Forces in 2 different wars, 156 years apart. But today, 9th of June, in the past 20th century and today, and it will be tomorrow, our main geopolitical interest is to have the best, most cordial economic, commercial, financial, economic, cultural relations with each other. There's no no to that. That is a constant. That is a constant, and that doesn't change. That's just like the pi symbol, which represents a constant mathematical number principle related to the circumference and the diameter of a circle, which represents 3.1416. I gotta say that graffiti I kind of like. Got some talent, you know. I don't know, it's not bad, a little bit of embellishment, but like I said, if we give permission, and yeah, you know, why not? If somebody's really an artist, like, that could be something done there. Like that color, it's not bad, you know, it embellishes a lot, it's refreshing, and the color is nice, you know, it's refreshing, and it's kind of cool. So that I would be able to tolerate. Even if I would be police, you know, I would be a police officer. I said, you know what, it's not bad, this judge, you know, can we just give this person a little bit of that, a little bit of somewhere to just, if they want, they can paint the hole freely, and they get permission and paint the bridges, you know what I mean? That type of initiative. So fundamentally, in essence, our most important interest is to have the most geopolitically, I'm referring, so both for Canada and the United States, as it relates to foreign policies, not domestic affairs, not internal, but foreign policies, until we unite fully and get rid of the border and create a common currency and have a common passport, and we have the Dragon Army, aka, you know, Canadian, American, North American integrated SSD Legion, integrated with all existing institutions and organizations, part of the new 911 total defense, total security, total defense protocols, which I've written since 2017, parallel to my other initiatives and everything that have been written ever since. You know, that's all we gotta get doing, you know. So that's all we gotta get doing, you know. So That's what I gotta be doing now, you know. Yeah. Ooh. Anyways, because for the first time I saw a graffiti artist doing the work last week in the night. I did a small video, it's at night and you can see, so this was kind of the work that they did. I love the colors, you know, the colors, bright colors like that, makes me think of a little bit of a California candy type of, you know, candy from California. What is it? Is it 2020 or Zozo? I'm not sure. But nonetheless, it's not bad, you know, it's not bad. Kind of refreshing. So anyway, so our main interest is to have the best, most cordial relations with each other. Our best interest is to have the best, most cordial relations with each other. Economically, financially, commercially, in all ways. That's just how it is, of course, from the geopolitical perspective. From the geopolitical perspective, you know. From the geopolitical perspective, and taking a look at this bridge, kind of, I recognize those who build it, but of course I gotta say that, wow, gotta say something that we need to implement that DRT, because we need to do massive infrastructure rebuilding. Mass infrastructure rebuilding right here, you know. Mass infrastructure rebuilding, and you can see that it's probably decades since it hasn't been refurbished. Anyways, that aside, and back to geopolitics, because that's my kingdom, my realm, and I am an independent geopolitical theoretical understand theorist again, who has predicted what's happening now back in 2019 in October, November. So us Canadians, Quebecers, and this statement is always a yes. There's no no and no maybe. Our main interest, geopolitical interest, and that's related to foreign affairs, is to have the best, most cordial economic, financial, commercial, cultural, military, defense relations with the United States. And the United States with us. Reciprocal. So that's why where we are now in this geopolitical crisis, and probably World War III, the future for the 21st century is for us. We gotta fuse the North and the South with the United States. 85% of our goods are exported to the United States. 85%. We gotta fuse. And we gotta make a new entente, because this great fusion is gonna require some constitutional amendments. And we gotta create the 7th Army, including now the 6th that exist, part of the US military, the Marines, the Space Force, the Navy, and the other ones which exist. We got to create the 7th for Canada, United States, and integrate it with the National Guard, with the public police, public security at all levels integrated. For the new 911 total security, total service, total defense protocols, integrated across the 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories. For total security, total service, total defense. And yes, to rebuild the ghettos, the North American inner cities, to mass finance citizens, tourism, meet them, great things, great wellness. When I crossed Canada coast to coast, that event made me solidify and establish a strong esprit de corps. My family here, Quebecers, Canadians, and my family across the 50 states. That's how we gotta get drilling with that, and that's how we gotta get on that left YZ, and so we gotta get drilling on the go, man, you know. So it's something which we gotta be implementing, and something which we gotta be loving here for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, and the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, and all those involved in the production and distribution of food, you know. That's just how we gotta do it here, you know. For the left, for the right, and in the center, as a Democratic Republican, as a Republican Democrat, as a Democratic Republican, as a Democratic Republican, pro-labor and love universal centrist, androgynous pansexual centrist, because you get that 50-50 with me after so many reincarnations. When I was born a man, a woman, now you get 50-50. 50-50, 50-50. That's how we gotta get proceeding, and you know, the equality of the states is we're gonna fuse. We gotta create these new institutions for total security, total service, total defense, the Dragon Army, and the Dancing Goddess Army, the North American Integrated Dance League, to dance for the environment. You know, to rebuild. We got a massive doing just in the city, in the cities. You know, the recycling sometimes is not put in the recycling. You see in the garbage bins, you throw cans which have to go into recycling, plastic bottles, paper which have to go into recycling, you know. That's why the individual action is also required part of the collective. The other day I saw so many, every time now I check in the garbage bin, I see things that should go into recycling. The recycling was picked up early this morning. I had to take it out myself. So I took it out, and my fellow citizen workers who need some free tickets to the NFL, NHL, and MLB. And you know, we need to build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum as we get a fuse on the Canadian-US border to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome. The Caesar Superdome, which of course was known before as the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, is now known as the Louisiana Superdome. Before that, he had changed names several times, and now he changed names. And it's like I changed my name. Nobody's born a dragon, not even myself. You become one motto of the Dragon Army, aka the North American Imperial SSD Legion, Security Service and Defense Legion, SSD. And we got a fuse coast to coast, ocean to ocean. And on the Canadian-US border, built that biggest ever 24/7 sports complex. We can have UFC, NFL, NBA for massive, to be a massive structure. Canada and United States joint, 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome, where my 49ers lost. One of my top 5 favorite Super Bowls is known as the Harbaugh Ball, aka Blackout Ball, Harbaugh Ball, aka Blackout Ball, Harbaugh Ball, aka Blackout Ball, aka Bro Ball, where my 49ers lost to the Ravens, not by a lot, by 3 points, but that's one of my 5 favorite Super Bowls, and that's what we gotta build. And of course, parallel to that, we also gotta build the Forgotten Goddess, Forgotten Goddess Temple. Forgotten Goddess Temple. Forgotten Goddess Temple. And that gives me some joy. That gives me some joy right there. That gives me some joy, you know, the youth, man. Youth making some love, man. Yeah. That's joyous occasion, you know. That's a joyous occasion. You know, the youth, the young are innocent. The youth and the young are innocent. I don't mean to stare much, but they're making some loving like that, and that's important, man. That makes me happy, you know. Going into that summer teenage love, man. It's for them, you know. That's why the Dragon Army gotta be for that as well, you know, for them as well. Those youth there safely kissing, hugging in the streets, and you know, and if they're of age, I don't know how age, you know, there are to have, you know, discussion around sexual education, you know, sexual education, and condoms. But if you want to come love with me, black, white, or rainbow, you gotta be 18, eh? You gotta be 18, you gotta be 18 plus. I'm gonna card you just like when you go in the club, just like when you go to get cigarettes. I don't smoke cigarettes myself, just like when you go to buy alcohol, or here in Quebec, just like when you go to buy that SQDC, you know. That SQDC, you know, SQDC. That means the cannabis, and those teenagers, I'm assuming, because we assume much, they were about maybe 16, 17, and they kissed a bit, they hugged, and to stare, but that gives me hope for the future, you know. Somebody making love in the kingdom of the 63. The Dragon Kingdom, the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom. Pledge your allegiance to our family. Get that Canada, and sing for the police as I sing rock and roll for the security forces and my brothers and sisters, boys and girls in blue. I also gotta sing for those who do their criminal rehabilitation. They also take their second chances and go that legit way, honest work, and go take their second chances or even third chances. A lot of people deserve second and third chances, and I guess I serve my time myself. I guess I serve my time of pain, struggle, suffering when I was depressed and suicidal, when I lived in that underground room of Sun Temple, which was like a small, full of mold prison cell, and I got surprised attacked a few years ago, hit my head on the concrete, and was like bloodied up, and had a dislocated right arm, which went to the Jewish General Hospital. He was replaced, not replaced, but cracked, put back, cracked back together, cracked back together, and that's all we gotta get doing, you know, cracked back together, and that's all we're gonna get doing with that. So basically, it was cracked back together, and that's all we're gonna. I was put on some medication, you know, so because I was put on some meds, I don't know if I was doing drugs before, or if sometimes memory loss is called by prolonged illness, trauma to the head, or even concussion trauma to the head, or even alcoholism. I don't know if I was drinking or not before. Was I drunk? Was I drinking so much, or doing different type of hard drugs that I lost memory? And of course, trouble remembering my life. So if I go 9 years, it's fine. 8 years is very fine. 7 years is the best. 8 years, and I go at 9 gets more difficult. At 10, kind of a little bit of a foggy, but then at 11, after 11 and plus, it gets a little bit more difficult, you know. It's kind of like a blackout of memory. That's how I gotta go. So that's how we gotta get doing with that, you know. So just whatever the case may be, most of my work is, the most important thing is the work that I've done, especially during COVID, in terms of philosophies, initiatives, and after I got out of my depression in 2017, because I'm laying the foundations of the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, of course, with 718 pieces. So if you want, this is from the forgotten goddess I got by the trillions, and of course I will to build not only Let's Go construction workers. I'm gonna put some on the table, some kisses, feet washing, to build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, and to, of course, to build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, and to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple, which I will to build a Forgotten Goddess Temple, the Forgotten Goddess Temple, Forgotten GODDSS Temple. Let's go on the Canadian-US border, and also on the Forgotten Goddess Temple, and also to build the House of the Dragon, Scarlet, Crimson, Scarlet, and red is a shade of scarlet. Scarlet and crimson are shades of red, basically. The pyramid, House of the Dragon. And the fourth, the Rainbow People's Palace, for my fellow LGBTQ community. Here you gotta watch it again. I gotta stabilize my arm here like that. So I want to cross here and see. It's gotten higher. Here. These beautiful flowers. At least I like them. They're tiny, small. They have a scent which I like. It's kind of like a little bit like rice type of smell, at least to me. And, you know, you can come and it seems like now it's very elevated. At least the water here, so, but it's not that elevated though. It just seems like it, because you see it's not really that high as you go the basin. But it's of course gotten a little bit. And these, I love the smell of these. You got a bee. I'm gonna let the bee be. But see, these, they smell so good. These are actually edible. I don't recommend you to eat them, but see, they're so nice. Beautiful. See, Mother Nature are very nice. They're smells so good, and here you got so many of them, and you got nature, you know, Mother Nature. Nature is our friend. Sometimes, you know, gets a little bit of moody, I guess, angry, supportive, but we got to get the DGA. The solution to an environmental education and action is the DGA, at least for the North American Collective. But I have hope for the world. But you know, I got so many things to see just in Quebec, Canada, and so many things to travel to. Go Montreal to San Francisco when we play at Montreal to San Francisco, and Vancouver to, of course, Florida, Miami. So you got like an X crossing all the way to the top of the 63 Northwestern Territories, Yukon, and you know, we got that Nunavut, and that's how we got 63, 10 plus 50 plus 3 for the kingdom. We got to create that DRT. And now that I'm on the subject, I'm going to discuss the DRT, and again, pledge your allegiance to our family. Again, on the Asperger's, the problem is that we Aspies in my community, the rates of unemployment, how much it is? Between 60 and 80%, while the majority of the population is between 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's 11 times higher. Unfortunately, I had many jobs, and usually Aspies, we have lots of jobs. The problem is maintaining the jobs, maintaining long term. So I had a few months, a few weeks, a few days, maintaining the jobs long term. So maintaining the jobs long term, maintaining the jobs long term. Long term maintenance of the jobs can be problematic, Maintaining the jobs long term can be problematic. And the high, very high, 9 times higher than the majority of the population, neurotypicals, which you constitute 99.56% compared to a 0.44%. The depression and suicidal rates are 9 times higher. So you got 9 and 11 times higher. And the unemployment rates are very high, and the depression and suicidal. And I've been depressed, I've been suicidal, so but there's no medication for Asperger's, because we just live with these mutations of the brain, which makes us a bit socially awkward, weird, and the way we communicate and dialogue makes us a bit on the community side, that we're less I love volunteering myself. I've been volunteering for years and years and years, but the way we communicate, the way we communicate. So our communication skills are a bit different and divergent, but that's how we are, So basically, because of how we are, in terms of the social interactions, we can lose a lot of friends, We lose a lot of friends. So losing a lot of friends is another problem. I don't have many friends myself, some online, but friends will benefit from now on. And pledge your allegiance to our family, It's pledge your allegiance to our family, Pledge your allegiance to our family, and that's how we rock and roll it. But the problem is high unemployment and depression, suicidal, and I lived it, I lived it, and I suffered, struggled, lived with scars on the face, on the body, and everywhere on the go, and that's how we got, and that's how we gotta get drilling with that, and that's how we gotta get doing, For the lover, the butchers, and the bakers, the nurses, and the doctors, the firefighters, and that's how we gotta get doing here, Pledge your allegiance, and paradoxically, with all the struggling, the sufferings I've been through, and many Aspies, like not just me, but my communities, like I said, there's no medication for Asperger's, and the cause of Asperger's is inconclusive. It's partly hereditary, partly environmental or biological, but what is known is that there's certain, at a micro level, there's brain mutations. So these mutations constitute, and of course show for the variety and the majority, of course, of the majority of course, whatever the case may be, of the majority of the way we interact, the way we socially are, how we are in the world, how we express ourselves, and certain things we lack: social awareness, social skills, how, for example, to read certain emotions, and we might be direct, we might offend sometimes because of how we are direct sometimes on certain things, and that might seem offensive, but also the empathy, compassion question, these are beautiful. It's not that we're not empathetic or compassionate, it's just that we show compassion by action. So we have a tendency to show compassion by action. So the way we show compassion, these are beautiful. I think you can make juice with them. So we show compassion by action. So we show compassion by action, rather than verbal communicating in a verbal manner. So we might not necessarily say something verbally to say, "Oh, we're sorry," or "So sorry about this," or it's just but we'll offer to do something if we can, if we're in the position, financial, philosophical, monetary, of course, by offering some food if you're hungry, or a massage if you're. Wow, these smell so good. This is the best smell I smelled yet. These smell so good. Oh yeah, that's nice. These are really gorgeous. Here, stuck in the back. Wow. I just discovered some nice flowers here. Really nice. Nice in the back. Really nice. Beautiful, beautiful flowers. So that's another thing with Asperger's. We might not verbalize the constellation, but we're showing it by certain action that we can do for certain individuals, X, Y, Z, whatever the case may be. And if we are in the capacity to help, in the position, the capacity, and of course, whatever relation we have, of course, we have our compassion and empathy is showed in our way, our ASP way, more action than verbal consolation or verbal espousal or propositions, So that is one of the things which is characteristics of Asperger's. We might also repeat things 2-3 times, which can be annoying. The same phrase, the same sentence, or of course we might also have echolalia, Echolalia, of course, is repeating the exact same sentence or phrase that somebody else will say, somebody else will say. So of course Aspies were a high level of abuse. Aspies get abused a lot, and I live with my own trauma, and I created my own workout training program system, and I got fit, and I'm getting fit, and I don't like violence. I do not like violence. I don't like violence at all. But I understand aggression because I have it, I guess, and sometimes when I was depressed, suicidal, when I was screaming, sometimes I was moody, I wanted to scream earlier, but not violence, but aggression to be channeled. Sometimes it's required, aggression is required to deter violence, right? Force and aggression is sometimes required for the greater good. A last resort, of course, aggression and violence, aggression and force to deter violence, but sometimes it's required, right? So sometimes it's required. But I don't like violence, and I just am hyper-vigilant. I am hyper-vigilant. I have been for years. Hyper-vigilant. I survived COVID. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. COVID from like death, pestilence, and disease. Really, COVID, I thought I was going to die. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. And I died between February 2020 and March 2020, being reborn, nothing that I want to go back to. But now we're going to discuss the DRT, death refusion. Death refusion to super important that I discuss the DRT, because of course the DRT, the debt refusion to, is paradoxically what is going to save us from a potential financial collapse, both a public financial collapse and a private financial collapse. Because today, June 9th of June 2025, much of the world, but I'm speaking, I say I should refer to Canada, United States mostly. So I'm going to refer Canada, United States for the 63. Canada, United States were in a very similar economic, financial, commercial situation. Very similar economic, financial, commercial situation. Very similar economic, financial, commercial situation. And here you can check. It's right between 60 and 69. You gotta build the house of the dragon. And that's French and that's English. All those remaining structures linked to Canada's fur trade. That's how it began, linked to Canada's fur trade. And I was, of course, many a times, as the lion and the unicorn. I was many a times born in past lives. Sometimes was a man or woman, and wow, he's among the oldest. Imagine, it's wow, it's more than 358 years, depending on what month. But if it was built between that and that, I guess so. Wow, you saw there this one. See, you got a piece of history right here. That's oldie, It's an oldie. Here by the river, we're gonna sing some of that cadence, but not just gonna focus on discussing the DRT. Super important that I focus on discussing the DRT because it's fundamentally the solution, at least from the perspective of of Canada and United States, since we are living in a very precarious financial situation, myself included. Got $10,000 in debt, and many have, of course, in the past days, weeks, and months, and last year in November, and this year, in the past months, For both Canada and United States, there have been reports of record-breaking credit card debt. Record-breaking credit card debt. Record-breaking credit card debt. So now the problem is that parallel to this record-breaking credit card debt, there's a very high, super high credit card debt parallel to the increase of the cost of living. The cost of living has increased. So due to the fact that the cost of living has increased and the debt has increased so much, the debt has increased so much, the credit card debt parallel to the, at the same time, the cost of living in the past 5 years. Just the other day, last Friday, I discussed how my chocolate bars, which I used to get for 50 cents, went, and now they're 63 cents. 63 cents. 63, so that's 63 minus 50, that's 13 cents. But 13 cents, if it's from 50 cents, equivalates to 26% increase. So that is high, that's not 5 cents. That's not 10%, not 15, not 20. It's 26% increase. It's a relatively big increase in terms of percentage. Right? So that's the problem. How many salaries have increased that much? Not a lot. So what did I do? I had to, instead of usually buying 6 for the weekend, which usually cost me $3 for 6 chocolate bars, different chocolate bars, I bought only 4. So I had to reduce. Maybe it's for the good, because calories, what have you, although I like my sweets and like my wafers. Look at this beautiful river. But nonetheless, I had to reduce. So that's what's happening now for both Canada and United States. And even a report last year, which was one of the news outlets, and of course it was presented in CTV, Canadian television, CBC, and discussed in Canadian news. But one of the foreign ones, which I watch almost every day, is called VION. World is One, VION. News, World is One. VION, World is One. VION, World is One. World is One. News. World is One News. VION, World is One News. So the World is One News, that is a Indian-based international universal global news channel, but headquartered, I guess, and founded in India, which I watch. Well, this is One News, VION, WION. It's like CNN is cable news network. Those are the acronyms. If you want to check it out, So last year they had a report about, and it was titled, "Broke and Angry Canadians are preparing for unrest." Broke and angry Canadians are preparing for unrest. Broke and angry Canadians are preparing for unrest. Broke and angry Canadians. Myself am broke, but me is mostly because of this misunderstandings of Asperger's. Because like I said, on Aspies, we have our strengths, but they're counterparalleled by our weaknesses, our vulnerabilities, and our own mediocrities and averages, and being so-so and maybe totally useless in certain things. But then we're excellent and super good and great at those special interests, which when it comes to geopolitics, that's where I excel, that's where I'm great, that's where my domain, my kingdom lies 24/7, parallel to some sports and fitness and rock and roll. And I created a workout training program system, which have been and will continue to advocate for the implementation across universities, across colleges, and across security forces, and of course police forces and armed forces. It is a simple, effective workout training program system which I created back in 2019. I made it, created, and designed it to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario back in 2019 in October, November. So just keep that in mind, Keep that in mind. So that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get rock and rolling, So that's how we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get doing on that, So something which we gotta get drilling on the love side of things, and we gotta get on that butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, and firefighters, and all those electricians, plumbers, and daycare workers changing some diapers, and firefighters, construction workers, doing some of that good labor and good love, and all the truckers now, train conductors now. That's how we gotta get doing, the train conductors, and we gotta get it for them, for that love here of the beautiful river, and that's how we gotta get on that sensitive side for certain sensitive subjects, such as Aspie sufferings, Aspie struggles, but I lived through them, and today I'm happy, joyous, happy. as much as I can be, I'm parallel. I'm still financially stressed, but paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, and I think I'm gonna have enough money to buy myself some coffee. COFFE, although the prices of coffee and cocoa has increased. And you know, we gotta do better. Millionaires, billionaires. Give some charity, finance the dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom. Finance the dream, you know, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom. Finance the dream. And let's implement my DRT. Look at those beautiful flowers there. Aren't they just cuties? Look at that. Just there, tucked in, hidden secrets, man. The flowers, white and kind of purplish, you know. So the DRT, the debt refusion theory, you know, that's how we gotta get implemented. So the DRT, I'm gonna explain it now, and it's a paradox that it is the solution, but it is in many ways. It is. So we have reached record debt in Canada and the United States. And the problem is that the increasing cost of living with this increasing debt makes a double-edged financial, economic, commercial sword for the majority of the population in both Canada and the United States, and also the public financial situation because of the interest which we had to pay and the increase of the interest paid on the public debt of both Canada and the United States during COVID, the programs which had to be implemented in order to salvage the population, and in order to salvage the population because it was the health emergency. And I had coronavirus, I got triple vax, 3 vaccines, and I urge citizens to maintain, please, maintain the COVID protocols. Maintain the COVID protocols, you know. Maintain the COVID protocols, super important to maintain and keep the protocols of hygiene, the hygienic protocols of COVID. Super important to maintain and keep the protocols of COVID to the best of your abilities, to disinfect the hands with hand sanitizer, the hygiene. So, you know, because now COVID is back in India, China, a new variant last week. So we're going to see where that goes. And we got just the news the other day in parallel to that, because I don't know what caused COVID for sure. I believe it was snakes to human beings, which transmitted snakes to human beings, but I cannot rule out another possibility that it was not transmitted by snakes, that it was made in a lab. So I cannot, although I believe coronavirus, the COVID virus, was first transmitted from snakes to human beings, I cannot rule out another possibility. What I do know for sure is that before COVID, I created, made, produced a workout training program system designed, made, and created to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario back in 2019 in October, November. So that's what we got, and that's how we gotta get doing. So basically that's how we gotta get on that drill. So that's what I have on the table. Pal, with those trillions of kisses, of course, the DRT, debt refusion theory, DRT, debt refusion theory, the DRT, debt refusion theory. In my DRT is the solution or something very similar to my debt refusion theory. Integrated in my DRT theory is also integrated monetary integration theory. So monetary integration theory is integrated inside my debt refusion theory. So we gotta really, of course, implement it as soon as possible. So inside my DRT theory is integrated the monetary integration theory. Monetary integration theory is integrated, of course, in my DRT theory, in my debt refusion theory. So we're gonna have to take all the public and the private debt. That's how we're gonna have to do it. So this is the one that we have to do. We have to implement it or something similar. The DRT, the debt refusion theory, which we're gonna have to implement. So we're gonna have to take all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt. My $10,000 gonna get by this side. My $10,000, your $10,000. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt. My $10,000, your $10,000, and whatever the case may be, So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, all the public private debt, including my $10,000. We're gonna take it all. We're gonna convert it coast to coast, ocean to ocean, convert all the public private debt into US dollars. So all the public and the private debt, we're gonna convert it into US dollars. my $10,000, your $10,000, whatever the case may be, all the public and the private debt, including my $10,000. Across here. So my $10,000, your $10,000, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. All that debt, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, including my $10,000, we're gonna, of course, convert the public-private debt of Canada into US dollars. All that debt, we're gonna add it together with the US dollars. We're gonna have to implement the DRT, Canada coast to coast, ocean to ocean. So we're gonna have to implement it. Canada, United States joint, because we're in a financial situation, similar financial situation. We're in a similar financial situation. Canada, United States, we're in a similar financial situation. So all the debt, public and private debt, my 10,000, your 10,000, their 10,000, all the debt, public and private, we're going to convert it into US dollars. Canadian public-private debt, including my $10,000, we're going to convert it, add it up, ADD, add all the public-private debt of Canada, all the public-private debt of Canada, convert it into US dollars, and we're going to add it with the US dollars, and we're going to create a new central bank, new central bank, and of course, whatever we call the central bank, we're going to issue a new currency called the UE. U dot universal E dot exchange U dot unit. U dot universal E dot exchange U dot unit. The UE. U dot universal E dot exchange U dot unit. The universal exchange unit will have the value of the US dollar. Is going to have this new currency for Canada, United States. With the creation of the UE, by the implementation of my DRT theory, the debt refusion theory, we're going to mass finance citizens to work out, try and exercise. We're going to mass finance citizens' fitness. We're going to mass finance the rebuilding of the infrastructure, the aqueducts. We're going to mass rebuild Hydro-Quebec plants. We're going to rebuild Hydro-Quebec plants. We're going to get rid of the border, create a common passport as well, make a great census, across the 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories. Make a great census. Canada, United States joint. Create a new passport, ID cards. See who's been living here for the past 5-7 years. Maybe since COVID started February 2020 or 2017, etc. 5 or 7 years, to see who's been able to serve and give some amnesty. Undocumented migrants, illegal aliens, legal aliens, undocumented migrants. Give some amnesty. Of course, if we got to discern, because if you have more than 44 convictions, for robberies, and we've been convicted 44 times, every month, every week you go, and you get a conviction for a crime, then you got to discern a little bit of some, but nonetheless, to build those 44 tunnels, to help in constructing those 44, helping in constructing the 44 tunnels, in case of a thermonuclear war, which can happen any second, any minute, and get Canada and the United States joined. We're going to finance the building of the Golden Dome. We're going to put a hawk in it, H-A-W-K, and we're going to implement my protocols, the new 911 North American Integrated Dragonomy protocols for total security, total service, total defense, which I've written in the past 7+ years and have revised during COVID and are manifesting now with XYZ in different ways when I discourse my protocols and initiatives and call to all to pledge your allegiance for the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, which is fundamentally the North American Union for the 63, 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, so that's 10 plus 50 plus 3, that's 63, Montreal to San Francisco, Vancouver to Miami, and above, go all the way up to the 3 Northwest Territories, Yukon, Yellowknife. We're gonna make it all up together, and we're gonna get it together, and we're gonna mass finance fitness as well, mass finance tourism, and mass finance bus drivers. See where he's got number 44 on it again. Thinking about those 44 tunnels and saluting the bakers, the butchers, the doctors, the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food, That's how we gotta go drill it with that, and we gotta create the 2 complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the Dancing Goddess Army, aka the North American Integrated Dance League, and the Dragon Army, aka North American Integrated Imperial For the Empire SSD, security, service and defense, for total security, total service, total defense, and of course build a new 3G, well actually we need 5G infrastructure, the new 5G infrastructure. We need to pull webcams and put some mics everywhere and across the city, to get doing with that. And we gotta get doing for the lovers, the butchers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, and the plumbers, the electricians, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food. And that's how we gotta get drilling with that, man, That's how we gotta get doing for that. Look, see how it is there? Passing on the go. Train conductors, we gotta rebuild, the infrastructure, the bridges, the tunnels. That's how we gotta get doing with that. And that's how we gotta get categorizing in, and that's how we gotta get a little bit of that XYZ and making sure we get the protocols right. And that's what we gotta get doing for the DRT, the revision theory. And of course we gotta create the UE. And what a beautiful house there by the river, in front of the river. And wish I could give my anonymous friend a house with beautiful flowers like that right in front of the river. With beautiful flowers like that and right in front of the rivers. And that's how we gotta get doing, and so we gotta get drilling, and that's how we gotta get on the go. And we gotta get on for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and the doctors, the firefighters, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food. And that's how we gotta get drilling, all these here. We gotta get that construction workers and the nurses, the doctors, and the firefighters, and the electricians, and the plumbers, and all those now, across the roads for the 63. What's happening? So many things are happening, unfolding now. Somebody's flipping some burgers. Got to send some love to the workers in the fast food joints. Those building some more skyscrapers, some houses, construction workers. Those in the docks, dock workers, electricians, plumbers, cashiers, warehouse workers, bus drivers, teachers. School's over soon, Get some days, get some graduation, and see bridges. Gotta salute the bridge builders, public workers who pick up. In my neighborhood, I got 3 services every week. I got the garbage, got the recycling and the garbage, and of course the recycling, the garbage, and not just the recycling, the garbage, but the compost. And in 2018 I worked on the compost, 2018 I worked on the compost, and that's what it is, I worked on the compost, and that's what it is with that. I had a good experiences working in the compost, doing that recycling was something which was fun, And here we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get doing on the go, and so we gotta get doing on the love side of things, and so we got drilling with that, and gotta get on that love side, so something which we have to be implementing here, the North American Collective, and here on the island we gotta get on the love side of things, and gotta get the way out of my fellow citizens doing some of that bike. We're gonna build more bike paths, and we're gonna get that golden dome, get a hawk in it for protection from our ICBMs, build those 44 tunnels, mass finance citizens fitness, finance my program, and finance my program workout training program system, and build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, aka Coliseum on the Canadian-US border, to grow and be for 24/7. Sportus in perpetuities is gonna be for sports in perpetuity. It's gonna be for sports in perpetuity, Have those sports in perpetuities, 24/7 sports, and my fitness journey always begins today. That's what I say. It's been 7 years. I lost between 80 and 93 pounds, and I always love when I see my fellow cousins and aunties doing some bikes, doing some exercising, doing some of that fitness, because I love, physical activity, and we need to mass finance it because it's good for healthcare, and we're going to finance healthcare, and we definitely have to start building those 44, and we're going to get also the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act. North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act is something which we got to do. The North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, you know. That is something which consequently we have to do. The North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, and we need to do better, you know, in terms of wages and earnings, and we got to implement the DRT. There's going to be a kind of a financial reset, but we have to. We're at the point of an economic crash where by the time I get home, maybe, you know, it's going to be an economic, financial, public collapse. There's the full moon coming in a few days, you know, on the 11th, and full moon feast for me lasts about 3 days, so it's possible that we get a public catastrophe on the full moon June, you know, stock market crash. These are all possibilities. I'm not sure exactly what's going to unfold in LA. I urge restraint for my brothers and sisters in uniform, you know. Dragon Army for SSD, let's do it, let's create it. It's going to be sportsmanship conduct, referee type of sportsmanship in oral dealings with our fellow civilian citizens. As part of a Dragon Army contingency, you got to get that workout training program system, and we're going to be for total service, total security, total defense, while of course encouraging citizens to an active lifestyle, physical fitness, sweating daily, rehabilitation of the collective, and of course see if we can get furthermore expanding into the North American collective, the islands and Cuba and Mexico. Mexico is part of North America. As you know, I love these yellow flowers. Look at the beautiful yellow, makes me sing and say hello. Look at the beautiful yellow, makes me sing and say hello. Look at the beautiful yellows, makes me sing and say hello. Oh yeah, rock and roll. To give maybe my protocol for public-private partnership to reintegrate, rehabilitate Haiti into the North American collective by the ATT principle, to make it a economic special zone for AAT for athletics, art and tourism. Athletics, art and tourism. For athletics, art and tourism. For athletic, art and for tourism. For athletic, for art and for tourism, you know. Special AAT protocol for art, athletics and tourism. Something which we got to do together, and of course my brothers and sisters in collaboration, my brothers and sisters in Mexico, Cuba, Haiti and Dominican Republic, because they're part of North America, what I call the Great North American Complex. The 63 is Canada, United States, and then we absorb in the kingdom whoever wills it, and we have to have those laws, those discipline, that understanding for the 21st century, what we want to do and how we want to channel the aggression and how we want to avoid internal violence, how we want to channel the aggression and how we want to channel the aggression, and of course channel the aggression. And I don't think I ever had, I didn't even know there was grape. Please don't leave this here. You gotta be recycled. Unless somebody comes back, I'm not gonna touch it, but if I see it there tomorrow and the next day I come, I'm gonna recycle it. This has to be recycled, but maybe somebody left it there. Today they're coming back, they went for lunch and they were sitting here, whatever, smoking, and I never seen grape. I don't smoke myself, very rarely cannabis, and this one is chocolate. 2 pounds net. 2 pounds is a lot of chocolate there. That I like. I don't like smoking, but I like a little bit of that chocolate and wafers, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. And so we gotta get doing on the go with that, you know. So we gotta get doing on the drills, you know. So we gotta get on that rock and roll, man, you know. For the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the firefighters, and the electricians, the plumbers, and the artists. Gotta get in that AAT, you know. Athletic, art and tourism theory, and here we are, some more flowers and some more of that good stuff, and beautiful nature here. Pledge your allegiance, the river's going east, flowing east all the way to the Atlantic, right? The Atlantic is, now I'm going east, and of course to the east, the Atlantic, and then we got the Pacific, and got the Pacific to the west, and then we got some blocks here. Some blocks, So we got, and so we're gonna do it, and so we got it doing on the left and on the right, and that's in the zone here, the blocks. See the blocks by the river, you know. Get a population concentration, and we got a lot of rehabilitation work. We got a lot of work to do to get a pledge allegiance for the kingdom. And again, the DRT, debt refusion theory, we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, including my $10,000. We're gonna convert all the public private debt of Canada, including my $10,000, to add it all up, convert it to US dollars, and we're gonna add it with the US, because we have to implement the Canada, United States. All that money is gonna be the initial supply for a new central bank. That money is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank. That money is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank. That money is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank, you know. That is what is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank. And that's what we gotta do, and that's what we will do together jointly in Concordium, and that's how we're gonna get that drill, man. Yeah, the new central bank, and see this beautiful majestic river surrounding Hawk Island, Montreal, Metropolis Island. It's a big island of 2.5 million people. It's in the second most populated city in Canada. It's top 10 in the North America, even when including Mexico, because Mexico is first, you know. So you gotta keep that in mind. That is, of course, the top, and top most among the top 10 most populated, and of course, it is the second most populated in, of course, Canada. It was the first for a long time, and of course, now is the top 10 most populated. The DRT again, you know. We're gonna take all the public and the private debt. My $10,000 debt, your 10,000. We're gonna take it all. So we're gonna convert all the public private debt into US dollars. So all the public and the private debt, convert it to US dollars, add it with the US dollars. All that debt, we're gonna add it all up, and we're gonna create a new currency based on the value of the US dollars and the value of the US dollar and the value of the US dollar. So all the public and the private debt, we're gonna convert it, have it as the value. And you know, I got a crane fetish. I always meditate how the cranes were built. So check those beautiful flowers there, and here you can check a little bit on the other side. You got some binoculars, and that's what it is with that. And that's what they gotta get doing for the XYZ lovers here, where we go, you know, to get it on that. And here you got some beautiful yellow, not beautiful, I guess more bluish. And you got this beautiful crane, you know, I got a crane fetish. I just love cranes, and I gotta salute the crane operators. And we're gonna need some cranes to build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the North American Imperial People's Coliseum. We're gonna need some cranes, and to build the Forgotten Goddess Judy DSS Temple, to be 11 times the Oratory of Montreal. So I want it to be 11 times the Oratory of Montreal. 11 times the Oratory of Montreal, and the North American People's Imperial Coliseum to be the biggest ever sports center ever, to be 11 times bigger than the Harbor Ball, where the Harbor Ball, aka Bro Ball, aka Blackout Ball was played. Now it's known in Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana is known as the Caesar Superdome. It used to be known as the Louisiana Superdome and the Mercedes-Benz, so it changed names a few times in the past 77 years, but here we are today. We're gonna build a new majestic one. We're gonna have all sorts of sports and fitness for universities, for high school, for the public workers, the firefighters, for the security forces, the police, and the Dragon Army. The Dragon Army is gonna be 24/7 fitness, dancing, massages, and all that good stuff. And let's start building it. And Dragon Army is only gonna be for SSD for the 63. Only gonna be for SSD. For the 63, only is gonna be for the SSD, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, SSD, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, SSD, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and integrated now with what exists as the RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, gonna be integrated, and the police forces are gonna create this new super structure for total security, total service, total defense, and we're gonna implement my DRT, debt refusion theory, the DRT, debt refusion theory, for the creation of the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit. It's a must, and I guess I'm gonna launch about the North American Collective Workers Party, aka the Democratic Republican Party, Republican Democratic Party, vice versa. The North American Collective Workers Party, a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrism. My universal revolutionary centrism is tied hand in hand with my holy trinity of theories to be implemented for the North American Collective, the 63 first and foremost, the DRT, debt refusion theory, which I discussed a priori, the CIT, citizen integration theory, which is part of the new 911 Dragon Army protocols for total security, total service, total defense, and the DRT, the debt refusion theory, the DRT, debt refusion theory, the DRT, debt refusion theory for the collective, the DRT, the debt refusion theory for the collective, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get that rock and roll, you know. So that's how we gotta get it on, and gotta get it all the way to the river, and that's how we gotta get now, man. Pledge your allegiance, legions, our family, and it's a must because we are on the verge, maybe not today, but tomorrow or the day after, in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead, we're on the verge of a financial collapse, world war, nuclear war, thermonuclear war. And you saw, we just heard in the news, there was potential agro-terrorism by agro-terrorism by China's, some citizens of China works with the Chinese Communist Party, which has some nociferous and elements for potential agricultural terrorism to decimate crops. So that's another biggie. And of course, another biggie could be, of course, the financial collapse. And now if it turns into riots and expands from California to other states, we could also have Insurrection Act and martial law. That's how we need to get the Dragon Army. Pledge your allegiance, legions to our family, and that's how we're gonna DRT it, and now we're gonna get on the XYZ, and that's how we're gonna get loving with that. Here we're gonna have to do a little switch for that French, because we're in La Belle Province. I just want to say my gratitude again. Grateful, thankful that my rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, and got food and coffee, and always encouraging all to work out, train, exercise, you know. Working out, training, and exercising has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. And I think I feel some more drops. Sometimes you feel a drop or two drops, and then you feel other drops coming in, and it's a bit windy, but you never know. I guess a storm can start any minute. It looks like rain, but you never know. It could also change a bit. It could change a bit. Sometimes it just changes, you know. You just gotta look, and sometimes you get a little bit of sun. I was hoping for a little bit of sun, but I'm not gonna get a little bit of sun now, maybe. I guess I'm gonna have to be content with my own sunshine, you know. So we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get drilling, you know, for the plumbers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters. Once again, thinking about those daycare workers changing some diapers. Thinking about firefighters, LOV firefighters, LOV the butchers, the plumbers, the electricians, those doing some environmental work. And again, my universal revolutionary centrism is tied hand in hand with my trinity of theories. The DRT, debt refusion theory, the CIT, citizen integration theory, the DFT, democratic fusion theory, and those to be implemented to create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, PPP-based public-private partnership institutions, the Dragon Army, aka North American Integrated Imperial SSD Legion, and the Dancing Goddess Army, DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, of course, to be for the environment, environmental protection, and environmental action. To be, of course, for environmental protection, environmental action. I'm gonna cross the street here, gotta look, because sometimes they come fast, you know, with the bikes. So meaning that sometimes they come fast. I gotta cross the street there prudently, and gotta look and admire a little bit of that architecture, how it is, the design, and how it is something which I could be doing, and if I would be able to do that, you know, because I'm willing to put in some work for the Forgotten Goddess Temple building, and the House of the Dragon building, and building, of course, the House of the Dragon, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the Forgotten Goddess Temple, and of course the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the House of the Dragon Pyramid, House of the Dragon, the Pyramid, and, you know, construction workers, y'all rock and roll. And look at that, isn't that look a bit California-ish? Like California, hey, you got a little piece of California right here. Got a piece of California right in this June 9th. Doesn't that look a bit like California, na California, la la, California? See? Looks a bit like you got a piece of California here. Speaking of Los Angeles, that's LA right here in Montreal on the East Coast. Isn't it? Look, hey, right there. You got that right here, even the house. Even these houses look a bit like LA on that California, you know. That's how they look like. That's so we gotta get drilling. So now we're gonna switch to that French because we're in Quebec, not in California. 163. California's 163. Quebec's 163. You got 2 out of 63. You got 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories. Let's go for the kingdom. The dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. The dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. The dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. So French because we're in la belle province. Pledge your allegiance, LOV, make love tonight. Et bienvenue Québécois et Québécoises, ce jour où qui vente, le 9 juin, lundi. Je filais pas trop aujourd'hui, ce matin, je me suis réveillé, mais j'ai fait mon lavage. Je dois dire ma gratitude, parce que maintenant ça file bien mieux, je me sens bien mieux. J'ai vu des jeunes se donner des câlins, puis sourire, puis avoir du fun, puis s'amuser. Puis je sais qu'il y a des travailleurs, des camionneurs, des boulangers, des boulangères, les travailleurs de l'Hydro-Québec, les infirmières, tous ceux qui travaillent maintenant à faire de la nourriture, du nettoyage, le travail environnemental, à travers les 63, les 10 provinces, 50 États et 3 territoires du royaume de la déesse et du dragon et de la déesse qui danse. Donc le Québec, on fait partie, nous autres aussi, du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. Puis regardant ces beaux, ces belles bêtes qui sont dans là. Ils sont sur une branche, puis ils sont en train de se nettoyer. Vous nettoyez de l'hygiène. Et ils connaissent l'hygiène, fait que c'est important l'hygiène. Puis un autre petit castor, qu'est-ce que vous faites? C'est pas une bouffette! En tout cas, fait que juste pour dire, ça filait pas 100% ce matin, mais là ça va mieux. C'est sûr que j'ai encore un stress financièrement. Là. C'est juste ça mon stress financièrement, mais je sais pas, ça me tentait un peu comme mais ça, puis XYZ, YZ encore, des choses qui. Comme le fait de ne pas pouvoir me permettre un massage thérapeutique. Fait que là, je commençais à me sentir mieux. Puis je dis, je vais faire ce que je fais. Puis de toute manière, je l'aurais fait. Là, mais si je vais aller faire ma marche, mes longues marches de danse, entraînement de rock'n'roll, l'entraînement physique, puis de méditation après que j'ai fait de mon lavage. Ça a pris comme 2 heures. Puis bien sûr, j'ai fait des analyses en géopolitique. Je ne peux pas m'en passer. Hein. J'ai l'Asperger's, l'autisme hautement fonctionnel. Donc, je suis Asperger. J'ai cette condition de neurodivergence que nous, les Aspergers, on a des intérêts spéciaux. Ces intérêts spéciaux sont connus comme des intérêts obsessifs. Ça préoccupe avec intensité, super concentration, toute notre routine au quotidien, tout ce qu'on fait au quotidien, ça, avec intensité, super concentration, puis super dédication, tu sais, et super concentré, super dédié, puis super intense quand on est vis-à-vis ses intérêts spéciaux. Fait que ces intérêts spéciaux, ça préoccupe notre journée. De toutes les choses qu'on fait de la vie du quotidien, tu sais, ça se tourne autour de ces intérêts spéciaux. Bien sûr que ça peut varier. Là. Moi, en tant qu'individu Asperger, artiste, athlète, philosophe, analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, c'est sûr que mes intérêts peuvent varier à ce que vous, si vous êtes Aspi, puis faites partie de cette petite communauté de moins d'1%. Et regardez comment c'est beau, on dirait comme de l'art que ça a fait un peu, si vous regardez un peu, ça a fait un peu artistique, là. C'est du moins que moi j'en pense que vous voyez comment que la branche a tourné d'un bord comme ça, comme on dirait avec les autres branches, ça fait un peu, je sais pas, artistique un peu, ça me fait penser comme une scène de chorégraphie dans un film, puis en étant artiste, et c'est sûr que j'ai une créativité aussi parallèlement, mais c'est sûr qu'en tant qu'Asperger, j'ai de la misère dans les communication non verbale, la manière que je parle avec des gens, on parle, qu'on s'exprime de la manière qu'on communique, des fois ça peut être étrange, bizarre et d'une manière un peu... Des fois on est direct dans certaines choses, puis on peut offenser, on a des caractéristiques telles quelles la répétition des phrases, on va pouvoir dire 2-3 fois la même phrase de suite, ou on va dire, on a aussi des caractéristiques qui s'appellent les colélias, ça veut dire qu'on va dire exactement la même phrase ou le paragraphe que quelqu'un va nous dire, puis est en train de parler, puis là, on va répéter la même chose. C'est pas parce que c'est juste des caractéristiques de l'Asperger. C'est pas une maladie mentale, l'Asperger, c'est juste cette condition de neurodivergence. Ça fait qu'on a ces caractéristiques un peu bizarres, tu sais, qui semblent étranges ou hors normes de ce qu'on considère normal là, dans les caractéristiques. Là. Mais c'est sûr que moi aussi, je dois faire mon propre travail, tu sais, vis-à-vis ces choses-là, dans mon propre travail, dans ces choses-là que je dois faire, moi aussi, dans cet environnement de l'avoir-faire, dans ce bout, bien sûr, de le faire, puis d'y travailler dessus, d'y travailler, bien sûr, de la convergence, puis bien sûr, dans les affaires, bien sûr, qu'il faut que je le fasse sur moi-même, dans cette astuce, bien sûr, d'avoir de la compréhension, bien sûr, d'avoir de la compréhension, bien sûr, de ces choses-là qu'on vit, bien sûr, au quotidien, tu sais, comment qu'on s'exprime. Puis malheureusement, tu sais, c'est dans ma communauté, bien sûr, c'est sûr que nous, malheureusement, il y a un haut taux de sans-emploi. Sans-emploi, le taux de chômage, là, 11 fois plus que la majorité, vous constituez 99,56%, 59,56%. Nous, les Aspergers, on est moins d'1%, moins de la moitié d'un pourcentage, 0,44%. Puis encore, la cause de l'Asperger, ce qui cause, on ne sait pas exactement, il n'y a pas de 100%. Qu'est-ce qui cause? C'est partiellement, d'un part, c'est génétique, héréditaire, puis de l'autre part, c'est environnemental. Ça peut causer. Puis on a des mutations dans le cerveau, puis à cause de ces mutations au niveau microscopique, là, c'est pas une grosse partie du cerveau qui a des mutations, mais c'est juste cette partie-là, mais ça fait bien sûr cette partie-là que, à cause de cette partie-là, bien sûr, ça fait que, à cause de cette partie-là, mais on voit le monde différemment, on voit le monde différemment, tu sais, comment qu'on voit le monde, comment qu'on interagit avec le monde. Des fois, on peut se diriger, se concentrer sur certains détails que la plupart des gens disent, ils comprennent pas, tu sais, le fait où on va prendre un objet puis on va inspecter de proche de nos yeux l'objet, comme je vais regarder où la production, ça fait longtemps, même avant que la guerre économique là, d'échange puis commercial commence, là, que je consomme le plus possible des produits du Québec, du Canada. Puis pour moi, local, c'est les États-Unis ensemble parce que on est nord-américain. Puis moi, vous savez, mon intérêt spécial, c'est la géopolitique. Il y a des aspects que c'est les automobiles, que c'est l'histoire, que c'est les arts, les physiques, etc., etc., etc. Moi, c'est la géopolitique. Et je passe des heures par jour à faire des analyses de la géopolitique. Là, que je retourne chez nous après cette vidéo, je dois bien sûr me diriger pour voir où on est rendu avec la situation en Californie. Parce que le fait que Donald Trump il a envoyé la garde nationale, puis potentiellement les Marines des États-Unis, c'est potentiellement quelque chose qui va pouvoir peut-être se répandre. Tu sais, comme ça a commencé en Syrie. En Syrie, ça a commencé avec des manifestations, tu sais. La guerre civile là, de la Syrie, on dirait des fois ça recommence peut-être. Ça a commencé avec des... puis ça a pris un niveau sectaire aussi. Un niveau sectaire. Puis moi, bien sûr, tous ceux qui viennent nous rejoindre dans le collectif, c'est bien sûr, j'adopte le non-sectaire. Non-sectaire, tu sais. Parce qu'on constitue un collectif, on est divers. Tu sais, moi-même, je fais partie de cette petite minorité de citoyens, mais quand même, il faut faire l'effort nous-mêmes, comme qu'on doit faire pour le français. Si moi, je ne le fais pas en tant qu'individu pour le français ou pour l'environnement, de mettre dans les vidanges, qu'est-ce qui va dans les vidanges, puis de mettre dans le recyclage, qu'est-ce qui va dans le recyclage, c'est sûr qu'on doit faire un effort individuel vis-à-vis à l'effort collectif aussi. On peut faire des initiatives parallèlement, mais l'importance de l'individu aussi, de l'action individuelle, c'est super important parallèlement au collectif aussi. Tu sais, je veux dire, c'est ça la balance. C'est pour ça que mon centrisme, il est universel, là, révolutionnaire. Ça veut dire que mon centrisme, il est quand même un centrisme nord-américain basé sur des partenariats public-privé. Parce que moi, quand je dis je prête allégeance Légion, vous êtes famille à 100%, des belles fleurs qui ont été plantées. Moi, je trouve ça vraiment beau comment qui a été planté de même. Là, deux fleurs différentes, là, ça fait une grosse et une petite avec des fleurs différentes, avec des couleurs différentes. Là. C'est quelque chose de bien sûr qu'il faut que je le fasse moi-même dans cet environnement, de le faire bien sûr dans ce Citoyen, puis des choses bien sûr pour le faire dans cet environnement où on est rendu, tu sais. Fait que bien sûr pour le faire dans l'explication de qu'est-ce que c'est l'Asperger, ça vient encore que c'est une condition de neurodivergence. C'est pas une maladie mentale, c'est juste que nous, on voit les choses différemment. On voit les choses différemment. Fait qu'en voyant les choses différemment, la manière qu'on discute, ça peut être un peu bizarre, un peu étrange pour ceux qui ne savent pas c'est quoi, ou que ça peut paraître un peu bizarre, tu sais, un peu dans le sens où on dit bien sûr dans le sens de l'environnement, ou bien sûr dans le sens où on discute certains sujets de la société, on a de la misère, tu sais, les communications non verbales, puis bien sûr les manières qu'on s'exprime, des fois ça peut être un peu bizarre dans la moyenne, plus c'est difficile, tu sais, pour certains gens de comprendre la manière qu'on s'exprime des fois, tu sais, parce que c'est juste une manière différente qu'on va dire des choses, la communication est divergente. Mais quand ça vient à nos intérêts spéciaux, pour moi-même, c'est la géopolitique, l'entraînement physique, le rock'n'roll, c'est ma trinité d'intérêts spéciaux, c'est ça que je fais depuis des années avec intensité, super concentration, super intense, super concentré, super intense, concentré et super dedans. On peut être vraiment dedans. Tu sais, des fois, je passe des heures en faisant des analyses au niveau local, mondial, de l'Amérique du Nord, de l'international, de plusieurs postes, de la Radio-Canada, du CBC, du Canada, du CNN, puis je m'en vais vers ailleurs, vers les autres pays qui faut faire des analyses du Mexique, du point de vue, bien sûr, de l'Inde, de la Chine, parce que la géopolitique, c'est mondial, c'est international. Mais moi, je suis un analyste intéressé en géopolitique indépendant, puis encore une fois, je prends beaucoup de fierté dans mon travail indépendant en géopolitique, et je dois le dire, je le répète, parce que c'est vrai, j'ai la preuve. Moi, j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en octobre-novembre 2019. En octobre-novembre 2019, j'ai prévu qu'il y aura une conflagration internationale. J'ai la preuve pour ça. J'avais prévu qu'il y aura comme une troisième guerre mondiale. La probabilité que ça soit, bien sûr, nucléaire, c'était à peu près 50-50. Mais la probabilité qu'il y aura des bombes biologiques, c'était 2/3. C'était 2/3 des bombes biologiques. C'était 2/3. Puis là, juste la semaine passée, on a vu qu'il y a une possibilité ils se sont fait arrêter pour supposément de l'agroterrorisme par des armes biologiques. Imaginez-vous, tu sais, que les productions alimentaires soient frappées par des armes bactériologiques, biologiques là-dessus. Ça veut dire que notre production interne, ça va être affecté. Fait que c'est déjà sûr que nous, on est quoi, 9 millions de Québécois, puis 44 millions au Canada, incluant le Québec. Au Québec, on est 9 millions, je pense, 9,4, quasiment 10, proche de 10, on va dire. Puis au Canada, 44 au total. Puis aux États-Unis, nos frères et sœurs aux États-Unis, dans les 50 États, eux autres sont 50, sont 350 millions, 350 ou 344. Fait qu'ensemble, on fait 400 millions, tu sais, ensemble avec les énergies. Puis moi, je pense, en termes de la géopolitique, toujours intégrale. Puis là, je m'inquiète un peu pour la situation de la Californie. C'est sûr que je ne suis pas un partisan de Trump, au contraire, mais j'aurais voté Biden ou Kamala. Mais depuis 2018, je fais appel à Donald Trump de me combattre dans un combat de boxe. Depuis 2018, je fais appel à Donald Trump de me combattre dans un combat de boxe. Ça fait 2018, ça fait longtemps. Je fais appel. C'est là que je suis rentré vraiment dans la politique. Quand que Donald Trump il a, bien sûr, imposé des tarifs sur l'aluminium et l'acier. La première fois que Donald Trump a imposé des tarifs sur l'aluminium et l'acier, bien sûr, c'était en 2018. Fait que mon ami anonyme, merci. Ça, j'ai le sac à dos en arrière, puis dans le sac à dos, j'ai les gants rouges. On m'a donné des gants rouges, puis j'ai fait beaucoup d'entraînement. Je vais continuer à faire de l'entraînement dedans dans les prochains jours, semaines à venir, avec ces gants qui m'ont été faits en cadeau. Ils m'ont été donnés en cadeau, bien sûr, en 2018. C'est là que je suis rentré vraiment dans la politique. Avant ça, j'étais en dépression. Je suis sorti de ma dépression. J'étais en dépression, j'étais suicidaire. j'étais en dépression. J'étais suicidaire. J'étais en dépression avec ça, j'étais en dépression avec ça. Avant ça, j'étais en dépression, j'étais suicidaire. Puis ça, parallèlement à le sans-emploi, bien sûr, le taux de chômage, le taux de sans-emploi est 11 fois plus que la majorité des citoyens que vous constituez les 99,54%. C'est 9 fois. Le taux de dépression puis de suicide ou des tendances suicidaires de dépression, 9 fois plus. 9 fois plus chez nous, chez ma communauté d'Asperger's. C'est beaucoup, là, 9 fois plus. Ça veut dire que dans la communauté, ou ça veut dire pour un qui est en dépression puis qui est suicidaire, qui fait partie de la majorité de 99,56% de la majorité de vous, la population neurotypique, parallèlement à ma communauté de neurodivergents, il y a 9. Puis le taux de chômage et de sans-emploi, c'est 1 pour 11. C'est ça le problème. C'est pour ça que j'ai eu beaucoup de stress. J'ai eu bien de l'emploi, j'ai eu bien des emplois différents. C'est juste que j'ai eu ces emplois différents, mais maintenir ces emplois, ça a toujours duré un couple de semaines, un couple de mois, un couple de mois, un couple de semaines, un couple de semaines, un couple de mois. C'est ça le problème fondamentalement, vous comprenez, chez les Asperger's. Double trouble, parce que j'ai souffert ça, puis maintenant je souffre. J'ai bien sûr souffert ça, bien sûr, et bien sûr souffert à cause de ça. Mais bien sûr, cette souffrance, ça a fait, bien sûr, donner beaucoup de paradoxes, des solutions comme la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. C'est un paradoxe, mais c'est une solution. La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est une solution. C'est une solution qu'il faut que je le trouve, qu'il faut que je le fasse moi-même. La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Puis bien sûr, du point de vue de la géopolitique, c'est mon royaume, c'est mon domaine. C'est nous les aspects, comme je vous l'ai dit auparavant, on a des intérêts spéciaux. Fait que ces intérêts spéciaux nous préoccupent 24 sur 24, notre pensée, comment on communique, comment on pense dans le quotidien. Au quotidien, tu sais. Comment qu'on pense et comment qu'on est dans le quotidien, bien sûr. Au point de l'être, ou tous les jours, comment qu'on fait, qu'est-ce qu'on est, comment qu'on travaille, comment qu'on est, comment qu'on s'exprime. Et que notre fonctionnement au quotidien se tourne autour des routines, un type de rituel routine qui se tourne autour de ces intérêts spéciaux. Aussi connu comme intérêt obsessif, mais je n'utilise pas obsessif ni symptôme parce que ça, c'est plus pour des choses plus négatives. Puis l'Asperger's, l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, c'est pas une maladie mentale. Il y en a qui croient que c'est une maladie. C'est pas une maladie. On a des mutations dans le cerveau à cause de ces mutations-là. On voit le monde différemment. Vous savez, je suis quelqu'un qui n'aime pas la violence, mais je suis hyper vigilant car mon hypervigilance, je l'ai vécu. Je me suis fait attaquer par surprise, je suis tombé, je connais ma tête. Je suis tombé, je connais ma tête, tu sais. Je suis tombé, j'ai connu ma tête à terre, j'étais tout ensanglé, puis j'avais le bras droit disloqué. Fait que j'avais le bras droit disloqué, j'étais allé à l'hôpital, je me suis fait m'ont donné comme des médicaments, puis j'étais dans un coma, puis ça fait bien des années, il faudrait que j'aille voir à l'hôpital juif dans les archives, là, mais ça fait quand même un bout de ça, je sais pas combien d'années, puis ma mémoire, tu sais, quand j'habitais comme à une côte de neige, dans une petite comme une cellule de prison, là, il y avait beaucoup de moisissures, puis c'était une petite place, puis il y avait beaucoup de moisissures là-bas, bien sûr. J'ai la misère à se souvenir avant ça, ma vie. Puis je sais pas, j'ai fait beaucoup de drogue avant ça, ou j'étais alcoolique, ou à cause de l'alcool, ou à cause des blessures, la trompe, que j'ai une perte de mémoire, j'ai de la misère à me souvenir de ma vie avant. 7 ans, ça va, 8 ans, c'est correct, 9 ans, c'est OK, 10 ans, ça devient un peu embrouillé, 10 ans, 11 ans et plus, j'ai de la misère. Fait que 2014, avant ça, j'ai de la misère à me souvenir de ma vie, tu sais, c'est quand même quelque chose que je dois dire dans ce point de convergence où que je suis rendu en ce moment pour faire dans cet environnement de l'être, de quand même jovial, joyeux, content, de bonne humeur. C'est juste que je vis un stress financier, puis bien sûr, c'est un paradoxe que j'ai, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, qui sort bien sûr de cette frustration, cette souffrance vis-à-vis à l'Asperger's. Mais c'est bien sûr, je vais juste me grouiller un peu parce que je veux pas être dans les jambes des citoyens, là. Parce que je suis sur la piste cyclable, fait que je vais me grouiller un peu sur le bord ici. Ici, c'est mieux. Parce que là, c'est la piste cyclable vraiment. Là, je dois pas. Tu sais, je veux pas être dans leur jambe. C'est quand ils sont là en train de faire du cyclisme. Fait que juste pour résumer, c'est quoi l'Asperger? C'est juste une condition de neurodivergence, mais ça peut causer ces problèmes de plus de dépression, plus de sans emploi, c'est élevé, hein? C'est 11 fois plus que la population normale. Ou qu'est-ce qu'on appelle normal, parce que c'est pas une maladie mentale. L'Asperger, c'est juste, on voit le monde différemment et on en a force. Moi, quand ça vient à la géopolitique, je peux vous en parler, on peut faire des analyses, des études, des heures par jour. Je l'ai parlé à la radio en faisant des analyses en direct. Hein. Vous donner des analyses un peu des fois intellectuelles, académiques, plus sophistiquées, mais c'est sûr que on peut des fois résumer à certaines choses, bien sûr. Donc il peut avoir un résumé, bien sûr, qu'on peut faire un petit résumé des fois, là, mais maintenant, qu'est-ce qui nous inquiète? Puis je dois le dire maintenant, parce que je l'ai dit auparavant, puis je dois le répéter à toutes les fois. Nous, là, en tant que Québécois, Canadiens, il faut dire oui à qu'est-ce que je vais me dire, qu'est-ce que je vais dire maintenant, comment je vais me prononcer. Il n'y a pas de non ou peut-être. C'est juste oui, OK? Qu'est-ce que je vais dire maintenant? C'est un principe de la géopolitique pour nous vis-à-vis notre politique externe. Je ne parle pas du domestique, je parle externe, diplomatie politique externe. Qu'est-ce qu'il y a vis-à-vis, qu'est-ce qu'il y a à faire avec nos relations avec les autres pays, nations, États, etc., organisations internationales. Nous, là, en tant que Québécois, Canadiens, Québécois, Nord-Américains hein, aussi, nous, notre intérêt principal, fondamental, dans la politique externe, dans la géopolitique, en première place, pour nous, c'est d'avoir les meilleures relations économiques, financières, diplomatiques, de commerce, de défense, de sécurité, de culture, de sport, avec les États-Unis. Avec les États-Unis. Ça, c'est oui. Il n'y a pas de non peut-être, c'est oui. Vous savez, comme le symbole pi. Tu sais, le symbole pi des mathématiques qui symbolise une relation entre la circonférence, le diamètre du cercle. Comme des mathématiques, c'est toujours 3,1416. Ça ne change jamais. Ça ne change jamais. C'est toujours constamment là. C'est une constance. C'est constance mathématique. Fait que nous, en géopolitique, dans la politique externe, c'est oui. Nous, en première place, là. Hier, dans le 20e siècle, c'était de même. Hier, c'était de même. Aujourd'hui, c'est de même. Puis demain, ça sera de même. C'est d'avoir les meilleures relations possibles, économiques, financières, commerciales, avec les États-Unis. Avec les États-Unis, je veux juste regarder une place ici, voir si pouvoir venir à la plage ici quand il fait soleil. Peut-être. Ouais, ça c'est une place où pouvoir venir me baigner ici, juste ici, me baigner pas aujourd'hui, là, mais ça va être une place où, proche de la rivière, où, quand il fait soleil, le soleil est quelque part ici, là, mais et là, il va percer peut-être les nuages, mais hey, c'est une belle place. La place à m'établir dans un coin, s'il y a d'autres mondes. Il y a du monde là, on peut venir, puis s'asseoir, puis that's it, that's all. Fait que, en étant moi-même analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, avec beaucoup de vécu de souffrance, de trompe, de chute en dépression, suicidaire, puis aujourd'hui, ben, je suis joyeux, jovial, tu sais, j'ai beaucoup de choses à voir, beaucoup de choses à vivre, puis je dois dire que qu'est-ce qui m'a fait sortir de ma dépression moi-même, c'est quand j'ai traversé le Canada. Quand j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte, de l'est à l'ouest, premièrement, je suis allé à l'ouest, à Vancouver, en Colombie-Britannique. Après ça, en septembre 2017, je suis allé à Halifax, en Nouvelle-Écosse. Cet événement, ça m'a fait avoir comme une révélation, comme un réveil. Je me suis dit moi-même, je dis waouh, tellement de choses à faire, à voir. Quand je suis arrivé à Banff, en voyant les Rocheuses, la montagne et les Rocheuses, les Rockies, ce qu'on appelle en anglais les Rocheuses, c'était toute une expérience. J'ai dit waouh, c'est comme un paradis de roches de montagne, tu sais, en Alberta, là, cette petite place là-bas. Là. Fait que j'ai établi un esprit de corps solide avec le Canada, le Québec. Vous êtes devenu ma famille, même avant, là, mais parce que comme j'ai dit, je sais pas exactement, ma vie avant, mettons 2014, là, 2015-2014, c'est juste que je sais que j'étais en dépression 2015-2016, puis suicidaire, puis ben bas, là. Puis j'ai traversé le Canada, puis ça m'a fait établir un esprit de corps solide, puis vous considérez comme ma famille, les Québécois, Canadiens, Québécois, puis Nord-Américains, nos frères et sœurs dans les 50 États aussi, parce que moi, bien sûr, je crois à la réincarnation, et j'ai vécu aux États-Unis 3 fois. J'étais après 1776, une fois j'étais né femme, 2 fois homme, j'ai servi dans l'armée des États-Unis dans d'autres réincarnations. Maintenant, mais vous avez 50-50, 50-50, parce que dans mes réincarnations, j'étais homme-femme, puis comme il le faut. Oh yeah, là, ça, c'est ça. Donc, je reviens à la géopolitique. Il faut dire que nous, là, il faut avoir les meilleures relations avec les États-Unis. C'est pour ça ma manière de fusionner, parce que le roi est absent, c'est le temps pour la République. Ma manière de fusionner par un partenariat public-privé pour ma trinité de théorie, qu'on fait l'implémentation de ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, que je vais discuter bientôt, la théorie de fusion démocratique, la théorie d'intégration citoyenne, pour la fondation de 2 nouvelles institutions de partenariat public-privé pour la sécurité totale, service total, défense totale, basé sur des protocoles, des initiatives, des philosophies que j'ai écrites. Après que j'ai sorti de ma dépression, puis après que j'ai traversé le Canada, là, cet événement-là, en fait, vraiment de mon travail, puis toutes les théories, puis des protocoles, puis les initiatives que je parle, bien sûr, c'est des théories, bien sûr, que moi-même, bien sûr, j'en discute depuis ce temps-là, puis la majorité de la part de mes théories, mes thèses, mes initiatives, puis mes protocoles datent depuis que j'ai sorti de la dépression en 2017. Depuis que j'ai sorti en dépression depuis 2017. En 2017. Fait que la majorité de mon travail se trouve depuis ce temps-là. Puis même avant ça, mais bien sûr, surtout durant les révisions puis les protocoles d'initiative que j'ai composés, écrits durant la COVID. Comment ça s'appelle ça en français déjà? J'ai une perte de mémoire de terminologie, c'est un whipping willow. Mais ça n'en vient pas, comment ça s'appelle ça? C'est quoi le nom? Je m'en souviens pas. Ouais. Et bien sûr, c'est des choses que je dois, bien sûr, dans la théorie, dans la philosophie, bien sûr, pour le dire, bien sûr, de cette philosophie, de la théorie, bien sûr, où que je suis moi-même ici. Hein, mais je viens de perdre, demander peut-être à mon cher concitoyen comment c'est, parce que ça ne vient pas, puis ça me gosse un peu la terminologie de cette table là-bas, comment que ça s'appelle déjà? Allô? Parles-tu français? Oui. Comment ça s'appelle ce type d'arbre là-bas, s'il te plaît?
Sol pleureur.
Exact. Ça me plaît en anglais, mais en français, ça ne venait pas. Puis je dis, mais voyons donc, tu sais, je parle français, mais...
C'est sol pleureur.
Sol pleureur. Parce qu'en anglais, c'est weeping willow.
C'est ça. Ouais.
Ça ne venait pas, ça me gossait au bout.
Tu sais, il y a des fois, ça ressemble, ça ne va pas dire la même chose sur un bord.
Exactement, mais quand même.
Ça, c'est...
Soeur pleureur, oui, ils sont belles.
Ça, là, les racines ne vont pas.
Ah, je connais pas trop de la bio.
Ça n'a pas d'allure, ça.
Ah ouais, tu connais?
Ça, là, t'en as un sur ton terrain. Mettons, tu payes là, sur le pleureur.
Ah ouais?
Les racines vont être
c'est intéressant.
Il va chercher tout qu'il a besoin, à part de s'abreuver dans le fleuve.
Ah, c'est intéressant, la nature, des fois.
Oui, la nature aussi, c'est majestueux.
Ben ça, étais-tu ici avant ou c'est nous, c'est les Européens qui les ont amenés?
Non, c'était ici avant.
Avant la colonisation? Ah, ouais. OK.
Regarde,
Parce qu'on ne sait pas, des fois, je me demande, tu sais, c'est-tu
c'est quoi que tu vois là?
local ou c'est-tu?
Ouais. Le bar au fond blanc, c'est
qu'ils les ont amenés, tu sais. Ça existait avant.
C'était là. Quand les Indiens étaient ici, tout ça, c'était...
Oui. C'était tout là, oui.
C'était tout des terres qui appartenaient aux Indiens.
Ah ouais, je le sais bien, là.
Okay. Puis,
il y avait les différentes tribus, nations,
ça, c'est plutôt des tribus...
confédérations.
Iroquois.
La confédération iroquoise.
C'est la N.A.C.W.P.
Oui.
C'est les Iroquois, OK? C'est les jeunes guerriers qui sont là.
Ah ouais.
Donc, ça ici, c'est que...
Nos frères et sœurs indiens.
C'est le gouvernement canadien qui a pris possession de ça puis ils ont foutu dans des réserves.
L'histoire avant John McDonald, avant McDonald, ça va quand même loin quand on retourne
Si tu vas, OK...
en 1667, Upper Lower Canada. Là.
Écoute, en 1857, OK, Christophe Colomb, il s'est trompé de route. OK? Au lieu d'aller vers les Essarts, il s'est emmené vers ici. Okay?
Ah
donc,
ouais.
À Gaspésie. OK? Après ça, il y a eu...
Et Jacques Cartier en 1504.
1504, c'était Jacques Cartier.
Sur la montagne.
Le Mont-Royal. OK? Il plantait la première fois.
Ben, c'est une légende. On ne sait pas, dans le fond.
Parce que dans une légende.
C'est une légende, là.
On est... ça fait lui que...
Comme la chasse-galerie, là, tu sais.
Ouais, la même chose.
On est peut-être les descendants Moi et toi, on est peut-être les descendants du diable.
Oh, ça jamais. Mais c'est pas vrai, on en profite.
La chasse-galerie, peut-être qu'il est descendu et il a dit, ils sont belles, on va faire des enfants.
Ouais.
Salut, ciao, tu l'as aimé celle-là. Salut. Je parlais de la chasse-galerie, ça fait un peu de la chasse-galerie, puis ça fait bien sûr une histoire avec mon citoyen parce que je me demandais c'est quoi le nom, puis ça me gossait un peu, ça m'énervait un peu. Mais vous voyez aussi la manière que je communique, des fois c'est un peu étrange, mais je pense qu'on a communiqué, là, durant la COVID, je pense le même citoyen, je l'ai vu, il y a 4 ans ou 5 ans même. Là, je ne voulais pas trop le déranger parce qu'il était dans... Je voulais juste savoir le nom de... Ça m'en est pas, c'est des sœurs pleureurs. Des sœurs pleureurs, c'est ça. Des sœurs pleureurs. Puis il est en train de fumer son cannabis légal, là. Il s'est dit pas que c'est légal, là. En cette heure, depuis 2019, c'est légal. On s'est parlé un peu, fait que là, il a fait un peu de... On a fait un peu de comédie, là, parce que... Je suis quand même artiste, un peu, mais des fois, mes blagues sont peut-être un peu Asperger's. Je veux pas offenser personne, hein. Je me le dire si je vous offense, là, puis de prendre distance. Mais là, même, tu voyais qu'est-ce que... Un caractéristique de l'Asperger, je me suis approché trop proche. Tu sais, l'espace personnel, là, c'est difficile. Puis je me suis pas rendu compte. Je me suis même pas rendu compte. C'est ça, il faut que je travaille là-dessus. Tu sais, l'espace personnel. Tu sais, l'espace personnel. L'espace personnel, là, de 2-3 mètres. Ces choses-là, ils rendent plus difficiles. Il faut nous le dire, hey, t'es trop proche. Moi, il faut me le dire, hey, t'es trop proche, là, prends un peu de distance, prends 1 mètre, prends 2 mètres, prends 2 pas, parce que ça rend, c'est difficile pour nous, ces choses-là. Tu sais, l'espace personnel, je me suis rapproché, j'étais tellement proche de citoyen. Après ça, je me suis rendu compte, j'ai dit, je suis trop proche, là. Après ça, en partage, je me suis rendu compte que j'ai brisé son espace personnel. Fait que c'est ça le bris de l'espace personnel, ces choses-là. Nous, on n'est pas conscients de ces choses-là. C'est plus difficile, tu sais. Les normes non écrites sociales, tu sais, je veux dire. Quand la géopolitique, je peux en parler, on se discute, on s'assied sur la table, puis mais je suis expert dans le 20e siècle, par exemple, puis au quotidien, puis j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant. Je l'ai prévu, mes chers, j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant, puis j'ai une partie de la solution, puis là, je vais pas tarder de discuter de la TRD, théorie de la réfusion de la dette. Puis bien sûr, mec, je rentre chez nous, ça va être l'analyse de qu'est-ce qui se passe en Californie. Parce que ça me fait penser à qu'est-ce qui se passait au début de la... C'est sûr que par les analyses puis les nouvelles, là, qu'est-ce qui s'est passé, bien sûr? Moi, je m'en souviens pas directement. Ma mémoire vient comme l'amnésie rétrograde, l'amnésie depuis que, tu sais, de mémoire personnelle, je parle. Parce que, tu sais, la langue, les mathématiques, ces choses-là se perdent pas, mais la mémoire de mes souvenirs personnels, ma vie avant 2015-2014. Puis, vous savez, quand le groupe terroriste, ici, ce qu'ils appellent l'État islamique, tu sais, de l'État islamique, là, le groupe de l'État islamique, quand ils ont fait, bien sûr, de l'État islamique, quand ils ont fait leur terreur, tu sais, puis on avait peur qu'ils soient ici. Puis même moi, j'avais fait une collaboration avec le service de sécurité d'intelligence, de sécurité de service d'intelligence du Canada vis-à-vis, la chose avec la GRC, vis-à-vis des articles pour ce groupe. Je ne vais pas rentrer dans les détails, mais j'avais fait ça en 2016, puis j'ai même une preuve, une lettre là-dessus, là, mais bien sûr que pour dire bien sûr que la sécurité nationale, bien sûr, la sécurité nationale, bien sûr, c'est quelque chose qui m'intéresse constamment. Tu sais. La sécurité nationale, c'est quelque chose qui me porte à cœur, mais plus binational aussi, parce que on est avec les États-Unis ensemble, c'est ça. On est avec les États-Unis ensemble. Fait qu'on doit faire dans ces espaces du quotidien. Fait que dans la TRD, là, je vais discuter de la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, super important que je la discute. Puis pourquoi je dis que c'est la théorie qui peut nous sauver, bien sûr, c'est car le montant d'intérêt qu'on a payé sur la dette a augmenté depuis la COVID. Ça a tellement augmenté, tu sais, ben d'augmentation à cause des protocoles, des initiatives qu'on a implémentées depuis 2020, en 2025. C'est des protocoles, bien sûr, qu'on a dû implémenter au point des finances publiques pour soutenir la population dans la détresse de la COVID. Fait que l'intérêt s'est augmenté. Puis pas juste ça, mais au Canada puis aux États-Unis, on est dans une situation financière similaire. Ça veut dire qu'on a un surendettement des cartes de crédit. Un surendettement des cartes de crédit. C'est un surendettement. Moi-même, j'ai pas de carte de crédit, j'ai une dette de 10 000. Mais bien sûr, ce surendettement, ça fait qu'on est rendu à un point d'avoir ce surendettement. Puis ce problème, c'est que le coût de la vie, parallèlement, le coût de la vie, là, ça a augmenté tellement. Fait qu'à cause de l'augmentation du coût de la vie, qui a pris bien sûr ampleur, de plus en plus, on va se diriger vers les toilettes qui sont là. Les toilettes publiques. Fait que bien sûr que ça a pris de l'ampleur, bien vraiment de l'ampleur énorme, tu sais. Fait que ça a fait bien sûr de l'ampleur énorme dans cette situation qu'on est rendu. Bien sûr que ça l'a fait dans l'homme primordial, là, qu'on soit rendu à un point de crise qu'on peut s'ouvrir qui peut s'ouvrir sur l'horizon dès aujourd'hui, je rentre chez nous. C'est possible qu'il y ait bien sûr une crise financière, hein. Une crise des finances, c'est des choses qui sont possibles, tu sais. C'est des choses qui sont possibles dans cet espace personnel, d'avoir bien sûr de la situation qu'on est rendu de convergence et de points bien sûr, d'avoir des points de convergence qu'on est rendu à avoir bien sûr dans l'environnement qu'on vit. C'est sévère, hein? Parce que car est bien sûr à cause et dû de la crise de la coronavirus que moi-même j'ai survécu, puis je me suis fait vacciner 3 fois, tu sais. Puis je vous fais appel de garder les protocoles de la COVID, garder les protocoles d'hygiène publique. C'est super important de garder les protocoles de l'hygiène publique. Et parallèlement, le coût de la vie qui a augmenté, bien sûr, c'est bien sûr le coût de la vie. Ça a augmenté, bien sûr, là, on a payé 50. Moi-même, je vous ai donné un exemple. Vendredi passé, j'ai acheté 4 barres de chocolat à place d'en acheter 6 d'habitude, parce que car le prix a augmenté. De 50 cents, ça a sauté à 63 cents pour chaque. Puis c'est des barres de chocolat, de friandises, du chocolat différents. Mais 13 cents, là, c'est équivalent à 26%. Fait que quand on calcule 13, une augmentation de 50 cents à 63 cents, ça veut dire qu'on fait 63 moins 50, fait que ça donne 13 cents. Mais parce que 50 fois 2, c'est 100, puis c'est le 100%, on fait 13 cents fois 2, fait que ça donne 26. Fait que c'est 26%. 26%. 26. 26%. 26%. 26%. Hey, comment ça coule l'eau, c'est beau, là. Moi, je vais descendre un peu. Fait que c'est 26%. Et vu, bien sûr, que c'est 26%, et c'est beau ici quand même. C'est une belle place. Je vais faire de la neige, mais faire un peu de bain, là, ici. Comme ça coule de même, là. Mettre dans l'eau ici, là-bas, comme ça. J'en fais deux, c'est beau. Fait que bien sûr, dans ce point de convergence, pour que je sois bien sûr dans ce point, bien sûr, pour le faire, bien sûr, dans ce... Dire que c'est 13 fois 2, c'est 26. 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 Fait que c'est 26%, tu sais. C'est 26%. C'est 26%. Fait que si c'est 26%, bien sûr, ça veut dire quoi? Fait que c'est 26. Fait que c'est ça le problème. C'est 26%. Fait que là, je dois discuter de la TRD. TRD de la refusion de la dette. TRD de la refusion de la dette. TRD de la refusion de la dette. Fait que bien sûr, on doit le faire de cette manière, bien sûr, d'avoir de la convergence pour faire, bien sûr, de cette manière de la convergence. Fait que là, je dois le discuter, la TRD. TRD de la refusion de la dette. C'est la solution, il n'y a pas d'autre solution. La TRD, je vous l'explique. On va prendre, c'est important parce que c'est possible qu'il y ait un effondrement, puis on va devoir couper quelque chose dans le budget parce que à cause qu'on ne peut pas soutenir l'intérêt avec l'augmentation de la vie, ça a augmenté de 26%. Là. La semaine passée, juste le chocolat, fait que tout augmente sauf les salaires. Fait que c'est ça le problème. Fait qu'on va devoir prendre toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000, ton 10 000, ton 10 000, son 10 000. Fait que toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000 ton 10 000, toute cette dette-là, on va faire la conversion du Canada de côte à côte dans la devise des États-Unis. Cet argent-là, on va faire l'addition parce que la TRD, il faut qu'on fasse ensemble avec le Canada et les États-Unis. On va faire l'addition. Ensemble, on va faire la création d'une nouvelle monnaie, l'UI. U point unité, point échange ou point universel. U point unité, point échange ou point universel. Le UI. L'unité d'échange universelle, ça sera toute la dette publique-privée. Ça va avoir la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. Ça va être la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. On va mettre un taux d'intérêt de 10%. De 10%, bien sûr. On va mettre un taux d'intérêt de 10%. Ça ne pourra pas être plus que 10. Ça va être 10 et je vais attendre. Mais que ça sort des toilettes, je vais aller moi-même. Parce que quand c'est rouge, c'est occupé, hors service. Puis quand c'est libre, il y a un cleaning cycle, il y a un cycle de nettoyage ici. Fait que juin à août, septembre à mai, 7 à 6, 7 à 20, et ça devait jusqu'à minuit, là, quand même. En tout cas, 11h, 10h, c'est correct, là, mais les fins de semaine, c'est bon. En tout cas, je ne vais pas me plaindre, mais je suis content pour l'avoir ici, sur la route. Fait que, on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000, ton 10 000, son 10 000, ton 10 000, mon 10 000, moi j'ai 10 000 de dette. Fait que toute ma dette publique-privée, toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000, ton 10 000, on va faire l'addition ensemble. Fait que tout cet argent-là, ça va être la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. On va faire la création de l'unité d'échange universelle. Et bien sûr, on va faire la création de l'unité d'échange universelle. On va mettre un taux d'intérêt de 10%. Ça ne pourra pas être plus que 10%. Ça pourra être moins que 10%, mais pas plus que 10. Avec cet argent-là, on va rebâtir l'infrastructure du Québec. On va bâtir plus de centrales de Québec, bâtir l'infrastructure du Québec, bâtir plus de centrales. On va financer les gens à l'entraînement physique. On va construire les 44 tunnels, 44 tunnels dans le cas d'une guerre thermonucléaire. Fait qu'on va bâtir les tunnels là, dans le cadre d'une guerre thermonucléaire. On va financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, au tourisme. On va bâtir, construire de côte à côte. Là. Je vais juste m'étirer un peu le dos. On va bâtir de côte à côte l'armée de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, l'armée du dragon sur la Légion impériale pour la sécurité, service, défense, pour les 63, les 10 provinces, 50 territoires, 50 États et 3 territoires, les 63, Canada et États-Unis, on va enlever la frontière, on va faire un passeport commun, une monnaie commune, on va se défoncer de défense, service, sécurité totale de côte à côte, on va faire la création de la déesse, l'armée de la déesse qui danse pour l'environnement sur la Ligue de danse internationale de l'Amérique du Nord intégrée pour l'éducation et l'action environnementale. On va bâtir ces 44 tunnels dans le cadre d'une guerre thermonucléaire et bien sûr, on va financer les gens au tourisme, à l'entraînement physique aussi, on va bâtir le temple du peuple impérial. Le temple du peuple impérial, bien sûr, ça va être un temple qu'on va bâtir, bien sûr, ensemble, sur la frontière du Canada et des États-Unis, le plus grand colisée du monde. On va bâtir le plus grand colisée du monde. Pour le sport à perpétuité, on va avoir faire du sport à perpétuité, bien sûr. Et bien sûr, qu'est-ce qu'on va faire d'autre? Bien sûr, c'est on va financer le temple de la déesse oubliée, on va financer les tunnels, on va financer, bien sûr, la pyramide, maison du dragon rouge, écarlate, c'est rouge, bien sûr. On va bâtir aussi le palais du peuple impérial pour ma communauté de neurodivergents et la communauté LGBTQ, dont j'en fais partie de ces deux. Fait on va faire beaucoup de bien par la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. On va faire la TRD, faire l'implémentation de ma TRD. Et bien sûr, on va faire du bien commun. Ça va être du bien commun ensemble qu'on va faire. Et, je dois attendre, ça se nettoie tout seul. Oh, ouais. Oh, wow. Je me demande c'est combien le cycle de nettoyage. Ah! Et c'est cool quand même, comment tu as fait ça? C'est bon, la propreté c'est bon ça. Mais j'imagine comment ils l'ont fait, ils ont dû le faire d'une manière comment ils l'ont fait, là, mais je vais juste m'entraîner physiquement un peu, je vais attendre, moi que je sois en ligne. Là. Peut pas que quelqu'un prenne ma place. Et que je vais juste faire de l'entraînement physique. Continue en anglais. So see here, this is what it's saying here. It says cleaning cycle. So it's got a cleaning cycle now, so we gotta wait a little bit. So I'm gonna wait and then we're gonna do some workouts. As you see, now it's when it's free, we got a cleaning cycle. So I gotta salute. Urban Blue, whoever did it, you see in French and English. So wow, that's cool. I really like that. So we're gonna start some cadence, we're not gonna waste. So now it's free. Oh, the cycle, cleaning cycle, so it's self-cleaning. Wow, I like it. Isn't that cool? Cadence after we go back in, till we go back out. Oh yeah, feels fresh. I wonder how, by what? How does it, by these, maybe. By that, and these, like they spray, because it seems wet. Or maybe with, I have to close it. See, it's electric, so the soap, the water, and the drying. So, see you later. Cool public washrooms. Oh yeah, I done that business and I did wash the hands, see how it works, soap and pretty cool. I love it. Thanks to the builders who build it, and gotta get on that go, and it's gotta get cleaning and gotta get some hydration. We're gonna begin that cadence, and so we gotta get rock and rolling, man. Yeah, man. Cadence, get ready for the cadence by the river. Be safe there, prudent. They gotta get on that go, and so they gotta get it. So get ready for cadence. Create more property of the Dragon Army. By the river, Montreal Island, June 9th. By the river cadence. Use if you're an ally or an army. Gonna get it by the storm, and that's how we're gonna get drilling with that, and so we're gonna get on that lovely side of things, and gonna be watching. Oh yeah, I got those waves, man. Oh yeah, you got that drill, man. Oh yeah, that's some fun, man. Have fun, safe fun, man. It's the most important, you know. That's the most important thing. Have fun, safe fun, though. Safe fun, you know. So we gotta get that safe fun, man. You know? Gotta get on that love, you know. And here you can go to here, but it says sorti man, so they come by that side, you know. That's why they come by that side, you know. For the XYZ, and that's what they gotta get doing, man. Get ready for Dragon Army cadence. Dragon Army cadence. Let's get ready for that rock and roll. Property of the Dragon Army. On the go and on the no. Dragon Army cadence rock and roll. For the butchers and electricians. Property of the Dragon Army created freestyle mode cadence style. Dragon Army by the river. We're going east now. So now we're heading east. So we're coming from the west. We're heading east, right? And the camera's there south, and that's north. So that's north, that's east, that's south. The river is south, right? The river is south. So property of the Dragon Army cadence. Creative freestyle mode only use if you're an ally army. Pledge your allegiance to our family. Nobody's born a dragon. You gotta become one. Through blood, sweat, and tears. Marching steps and rock and roll. For the farmers on the go. Butchers, bakers, electricians. Plumbers, and you know we gotta sing it. And the trees and the wind breezes. And down we go by the water. By the river, that's the sentence. That's the Dragon Army cadence. How many feet tall the trees are? I don't know, you gotta squeeze. I don't know, you gotta seize. Farmers, butchers, electricians, train conductors, electricians, plumbers, nurses, doctors, firefighters. For the 63 we go. For the 63 we roll. In the sky you got the planes. In the sky you got the planes. I ain't looking for no fame. For the 63, for my citizens' harmony. Working out, training, exercising. Working out, training, exercising. Gotta get it so you see. For the dragon that you be. For the dragon that you see. We're gonna get it for the love. For the left and for the right. We're gonna left to sight. Where the sun, that's the sunlight. And you know we out of sight. Out of sight and out of might. For the 63 we tight. For the plumbers, electricians. Train conductors, butchers, nurses. Hey, hurry for the firefighters, marching left and east and west. Montreal to San Francisco. Hey, keep the peace in LA disco. Rather dancing on some amnesty. Dragon Army for the 63 SSD. We'll pledge your legions, PPP, public-private partnership, that's what we call for. Hey, for the 63, that's 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories merged into one, that's the gate. Hey, for the nurses, for the doctors, firefighters, train conductors, plumbers by the river, in the water, that's the water. So you see a mountain bees by the trees, that's the wind breeze. Hey, in the city, skyscrapers that you see and steel toes going up the cranes and rock and roll. IT workers, bit some coding. Dragon Army, that's the plumbing. Hey, we getting in the street that you know we got a suite. Hey, for the workers in the fitness journey just beginning. For the flora and the fauna, that's the trees ready to sun some. Hey, you know we got some electricians, plumbers, train conductors, somebody gotta do the dishes. Dragon Army SSD, pledge allegiance, we the family. Dragon Army SSD, pledge your allegiance, we are family. Dragon Army for the SSD, pledge your allegiance, thou our family. Dragon Army for the SSD. Security service and defense. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. And Atlantic and the Pacific. Montreal to San Francisco. Gotta play up in steel toes. Marching with the cadence rock and roll. And you know we got some birds. And you know we got some fishes. Ready to cook delicious. Hey, there you go, look at that. Isn't that majestic? Isn't that majestic? At your seas, that's the river. Somebody made a pit stop, you can go and have a nap. By the river, that's the quack. You don't see, that's the islands, little islands by the river. River plumbers, electricians, butchers, train conductors, truckers going round about that you see and up and out. Oh, maybe coming, that's the storm. Thunder out, you know we are in the storm and in the breeze. Dragon Army, that's a please. In the storm and in the breeze. Dragon Army, that's a squeeze. Let's go left and let's go right. Dragon Army, that's a sight. Let's go left and let's go right. Dragon Army, that's a sight. Gotta go coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We don't need no magic potion. Gotta get it for the firefighters. Sing it for the nurses and those in daycares changing diapers. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Gotta give it for the potion. Left and right, some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are rainbow. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are rainbow. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are rainbow. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are rainbow. Some of my dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are white, black. Gotta see it as you know. Butchers, bakers, rock and roll. That's some we and that's your soul. I'm gonna go check those big birds, man. Look at those. Gotta get it so you know. Gotta get it so you know. On the left and on the go. Rainbow dragon, rock and roll. Rainbow dragon, rock and roll. That's where we gotta go. Look at the field. Look at the field. That's what we gotta do. 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 For the me and for the you. Rock and rollin' in the street. Got a left and that's it, please. Got a sun and that's the shining. Oh yeah, the king, my pup is shining. Look at this. Feed a whole family, man. Feed a whole family, you know? Actually feed a whole troop, whole battalion. Feed a whole battalion, we don't need to hunt. We got the farmers, food producers. They got a field so that you can love us. Hey, they grew so big from 2 weeks ago. Got the babies, that's a no. Don't worry that we love you. Don't worry, I love you. Feel the wild creatures, that's the belly. White creatures, that's the belly. Gotta do it so we see a field, but if we need to hunt you right here so that we can eat. In case of nuclear war, you know. So I gotta get doing, but now I got food at home and I got some dollars and I made something this morning. Pre-workout, workout, and to be honest, I'm getting a bit of a hungry again. Maybe those noodles. I don't know if I ever had before. Maybe acorn noodles. I gotta check the nutrition value, but hey, rock and roll, let's go. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are white, black. Some of my dragons are rainbow. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. Hey, you know with double S's. Hey, whose blessing gotta be? Dragon army harmony. Left and right and left. There's some ducks ready to quack. We are dragons, not some demons. We are dragons, not some demons. Did you see by the river? Hey, we are dragons, not some demons. That's the cadence, that's the sentence. They align ready to bless us. Turn your hips and right like this. Do some push-ups, do some squats. For the 63, that's who we be. Marching steps, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Got a bets and got a left. Here's a place where you can sunbathe. Got a left and got a right. Got a left and army sight. For the doers and the thinkers, you know that you cannot blame us. By the river, by the ocean, in the valleys or on the mountains, Beautiful trees in the breeze. Sometimes you gotta stop, man. Just say please. Squeeze the trigger, pull the plug. Dragon army firefighting. We are not demons, we are dragons. Dragon army, pledge your allegiance. That's your gotta be, that's the cadence. Hey, photos of fast food workers flipping burgers. Fast food workers flipping burgers. There's some yellow flowers. Photos in the firefighting. Photos flipping some of those burgers. Flipping burgers, flipping burgers, flipping burgers. Flipping cheese in the fast food, please. That's the worker, that's a tree. For the nurses, gotta clap. 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 Gotta clap and gotta rap. It's a fact and ready goes. What a ghost! I don't know. Gotta go ready to see. Gotta left in harmony. That's we do it for the lovers. Hey, you got some news. New chicks, new babies. Let's see, bless them a little bit. Don't worry, I'm not gonna hunt you. You got some little babies with you. Don't you run, I'm not to eat you. And you come back, I just love you. Don't you worry, don't you worry. I no threat to dedie. I just wanna see how cute you are. And you can fly, that's the scar. I don't need to eat, you got a fridge. Got some pasta, got some sweets, got some leftovers, I cannot squeeze. Let's go. Dragonomic Cadence, creative freestyle mode, 9th of June, 2025, according to some, or post 1904. Legions. Now sectarian. Ready. By the whipping willows. Come and say some kisses and hello. We're the Dragon Army. By the whipping willow, come and say hello. Come some kisses and say hello, some kisses and say hello. By the whipping willow, we're the Dragon Army. By the whipping willow, we're the Dragon Army. By the whipping willow, by the whipping willow. By the whipping willow, we're the Dragon Army, come and say hello. Got the cadence, gotta go. Got the cadence, gotta go. By the whipping willow, that's and come and say hello. Somebody fishing on the sea, somebody fishing on the go. Somebody fishing on the go, somebody fishing on the do. To go left and right and you, that's the me and that's the boo. Somebody fishing right and you. Fishing spot here. Wow, this is full. Maybe they catch something here, man. Never seen so many clustered, but I guess this is a closed space. So because it's closed space here from the river, most of the fish are very popular here. So maybe they got a lot of fishing here done, because I never seen them concentrated so many in just a small little area. So I'm assuming that this is a popular fishing. That means that it's producing a lot of fishes, and that means that it's producing a lot of fishes with that. So we gotta get that free production. We gotta get that free production. And we gotta get it on the go. We gotta get that nice sweat. People there doing a little bit of that exercise, you know. That is what we gotta do also, which we're doing. And from here to my place, I still gotta rock and roll some hours, eh? Still about 2-3 hours from here to my place. So it's gonna be maybe more than 6, something like that today. That's how we're gonna get doing with that, and we're gonna get on that rock and roll, man. Continuing cadence, you know, freestyle mode, rock and roll. Pledge your allegiance for the 63. What's happening in LA? Gonna have to go back and do that geopoliticking, hopefully make some resolutions, you know, some amnesty to build the 44 best, you know, for the 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, you know. It could get worse before it gets better, I guess. So what are we gonna do? You know, we have to get it 50-50 sometimes. Dragon army, we gotta see. On the left and on the doers. For the bakers, electricians. Got the plumbers and those nurses. So you know we got the blessings when the blessings and the curses. Got a left and right, you see. And we do in harmony. Gotta get it for the right. Gotta get it for the tights. Left and right and in the sight. You know that we rainbow right. Got a left and right in sight. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white, black. My dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are red, blacks. Some of my dragons are rainbow. Some of my dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are white, black. Hey, on the site. We gotta do it, gotta do it, gotta wait on the do. Gotta do it, I see you. Gotta left and right, yeah. Gotta do it for the left, for the right, for the side. Gotta do it on the left, on the right and on the side. Gotta do it on the left. Gotta go up in the left. Gotta go for the expanse. Gotta go for that's a glance. Hey, you see what you see. That you be by the river. Where you going up and down by the river, that's the flavor. Yellow, that's another melody. Yellow flowers that you're loving. Yellow flowers that you see it. Yellow flowers that you be it. On the left and on the right. With some baking and some cooking. And you know we got good looking. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are white, black. None of my dragons are born a dragon. None of my dragons are born a dragon. None of my dragons are born a dragon. Look at the beautiful yellow flowers, man. Just cluster there, hey? Beautiful yellow flowers hidden. Let's go. Cadence. Let's go, get ready. Let's go get ready for to play that harmony. Cadence with some yellow flowers. Gotta get it, that's a fire. Hey, you know we got some flowers. Gotta get it so you see. That's the garden liberty. Liberty and garden down. And you know that we don't frown. Plumbers, electricians, butchers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, plumbers. Firefighters, electricians. Doers and the thinkers. Dragon army, let the hands up. If I show one finger, you say, if I ask who I am and you show one finger, you say, General Dragon Zero. 2 fingers, General Rainbow Dragon, Dragon Zero, aka Lip Dick, Dick Lit, Limb Dick, Dick Lit. If I show 3 fingers, you answer to the question, who I am. You are General Dragon Zero, aka Rainbow Dragon, Clit Dick, aka greatest cuckold in the universe who loves yellow flowers, aka greatest cuckold in the universe who loves yellow flowers, aka greatest cuckold, C-U-C-K, cuck, in the universe who loves yellow flowers. And finish with a cadence. Let's go. Amidst the field of yellow flowers, dragon spitting fire. Amidst the field of yellow flowers, dragon spitting fire. Amidst the field of yellow flowers, dragon spitting fire. And you know we gotta clap. Freestyle mode, June 9th. I think 16th, 17th, maybe 18th already since launched the Dragon Army Cadence series. And please, only allies and armies, use freely if you will, chant it in the across the 63 and beyond, across the 63 and beyond, across the 63 and beyond. Pledge your allegiance, legions from Montreal, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, Montreal to San Francisco, and for all the 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, let's get it. For SSD, total SSD, security, service and defense, Dragon Army, and just by the river, come learn some French. And grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. And this is where we're gonna end the video because it's been a few hours, and now the video gonna be another video, but